Chapter 943. Soon, the Saint Emperor announced that this trip to the Nine Serenities profound palace was over. Everyone would be transported out of this endless dark void within an hour. There were over 1 million people from the Shenwu world, so the Saint Emperor obviously couldn't count them all. If anyone was left behind, they could only blame it on their bad luck. However, normally, when the time came, everyone would be transported out of the Nine Serenities profound palace and appear near the giant stone tablet outside. Many people from the Heavenly Mandate Manor and the North Snow Empire found Shi Yengwu and found that Long Yu wasn't with her. They couldn't help but feel a bit strange and asked, "Where did Long Yu go?" Shi Yengwu couldn't tell them what happened, so she could only keep her mouth shut and shake her head, indicating that she didn't know either. But now that Shi Yengwu was fine, Long Yu was probably fine as well. After all, the two of them had signed a life and death contract. Everyone else obviously knew this, so they didn't think too much about it. They all thought that Long Yu was somewhere else. With over 1 million people here, it was normal to not be able to find him. Only Shi Yengwu knew that Long Yu was definitely still trapped in the final profound palace and hadn't come out. In less than an hour, a brilliant light suddenly appeared in the space. This light forcefully broke through the space and opened up a spatial passage near the giant stone tablet. Everyone followed the Saint Emperor out of this spatial passage. As long as they entered it, they would return to the 10,000 floors of the sacred tower and return to the Shenwu world. No one dared to linger. If they fell behind, they would be trapped here for 50 years. And for such a long time, without any replenishment of heaven and earth spirit chi, even Emperor Realm Masters would definitely starve to death, without any chance of survival. After all, the space outside the Netherworld Profound Palace was an expanse of nothingness. It was a complete vacuum, without air or spiritual energy. Even though high-level cultivators were able to survive in such an environment, they were unable to live here, and they would at most be able to persist for a few days before being unable to bear it. High-level cultivators would also be hungry, but when they were hungry, they needed to replenish the spiritual energy of heaven and earth instead of ordinary food. Of course, ordinary food could also be consumed by the cultivator's body, but the amount of food needed was huge. Shi Yengwu was a little hesitant. Long Yu hadn't appeared yet. Should she leave with the others? She pondered for a moment and decided to stay for the time being. Anyway, the exit would remain open for a while. She would wait for everyone to leave before she went to see if Long Yu had come out. The people from the North Snow Empire and the Heavenly Mandate Manor were sent away by Shi Yengwu with a random reason. Even if she wanted to stay and wait for Long Yu, she alone was enough. About half an hour later, over 1 million of Shenwu World's Imperial Path Secret Realm cultivators had all left through this space tunnel, leaving behind only Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor to bring up the rear. Seeing that Shi Yengwu still hadn't left, the two of them couldn't help but ask, "Why hasn't the last left yet? Long Yu still hasn't come out yet." Seeing that it was Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor, Shi Yengwu told them the truth. She had interacted with these two emperors before and felt that they had good personalities, so it wasn't a big deal to tell them this. What? Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor were both shocked. Long Yu still hasn't come out? How is that possible? Logically speaking, no matter who it was, they should have been transported out by that spatial power. Of course, that's excluding the other cultivators from beyond the sky, who weren't from the same group as the people of Shenwu World. However, how could Long Yu be sent to the ranks of the cultivators from beyond the sky? What the two emperors didn't know was that even the two cranes from the Heavenly First Division had been teleported out. Now, only Long Yu was still inside. The forces from beyond the sky have already gathered and sent everyone away. Does that mean that only Long Yu hasn't come out yet? Lei Emperor's expression was a bit solemn as he said to Shi Yengwu, "Since nothing happened to you, then Long Yu must be fine. It's impossible for him to still be in the Nine Serenities Profound Palace. He was most likely teleported to the forces from beyond the sky." Hearing that, Shi Yengu knew that this speculation was impossible, because the final profound palace was different from other places. She and the two cranes from the heavenly First Division were teleported to the same place, above the giant stone tablet. But Long Yu hadn't come out yet, so it was very likely that he was still trapped inside. However, Shi Yengu didn't want to tell the 5 emperors about the final profound palace. She could only change the topic and ask, "Oh right, Lord Lei Emperor, Lord Flame Emperor, have you seen Senior Elder Murong Xiuzhen? We saw him in the 9 Serenities profound palace. At that time, he seemed to be being chased." "I don't know. You've seen him?" Hearing that, Lei Emperor's expression changed. He anxiously asked, "We only sense that he had lost his life through the Elder's seal tablet, but we don't know what happened. Did you see who was chasing him?" "Lost his life?" Hearing that, Shi Yangwu's heart skipped a beat. Then, she felt somewhat desolate. Elder Murong Xiuzhen had blocked the Zifan curse for Long Yu, but now he had really died. The Symbol clan was now an extremely important enemy in Shi Yangwu's heart. She thought that if she had the strength in the future, she would definitely exterminate this clan. "I didn't see who it was, but the other party was very strong. I'm afraid he was from beyond the sky." Shi Yengu didn't tell the truth. After all, even if she told the truth, the 5 emperors wouldn't take revenge for Elder Murong Xiuzhen. After all, the other party was from beyond the sky. Sure enough, hearing that it was from beyond the sky, the expressions of Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor changed. "It's actually from beyond the sky? That's against the rules. Looks like we'll have to interrogate the people from beyond the sky. But right now, there's nothing we can do. Unfortunately, we couldn't even find Elder Murong's corpse." The 2 emperors' tone was a bit sorrowful. The alliance of 5 emperors was the most powerful force in Shen Wu world. It ruled over everything. But in the eyes of Beyond the Sky, the entire alliance of 5 emperors was nothing but a puppet tool for them to rule. Even the 5 emperors had to listen to the words of Beyond the Sky. Luckily, the various forces from Beyond the Sky kept each other in check. Some of the rules set by their ancestors allowed the alliance of 5 emperors to have the right to speak at certain times. The 2 emperors also wouldn't tell Shi Yengu much. In their eyes, Shi Yengu wasn't high enough to know too many things. "It's about time. Girl, let's go back first. Long you won't have any accidents." Lei Emperor comforted Shi Yengu. "Maybe he was teleported to Beyond the Sky, that's why he didn't come with us. If that's the case, you'll have to meet again at the Realm Core of God Martial Arts." The Realm Core of God Martial Arts was a place where the strongest King Realm cultivators and the top 10 Emperor Realm cultivators could go. They could explore the Realm Core of God Martial Arts with the geniuses from Beyond the Sky and strengthen their inner world. If Long Yu was taken away by someone from Beyond the Sky, then they could only meet again at that time. But Shi Yengu was 80% sure that Long Yu wasn't taken away, but was trapped in the Palace of Final Mysteries. "Senior Lei Emperor, Senior Flame Emperor, you should go first. I'll wait a bit longer. This space tunnel should last for another half an hour. When it's about time, I'll come out," Shi Yengu said to the 2 emperors. "How can we do that? Since you insist on waiting, then we'll wait with you." Lei Emperor's eyes widened. "As you said, this space tunnel can last for another half an hour. At that time, you have to promise to leave with us." "All right." Shi Yengu nodded. If Long Yu still hadn't come out at the last moment, Shi Yengu naturally wouldn't keep waiting. After all, Long Yu would most likely be fine. After all, it was the Death Envoy who allowed Long Yu to enter the Palace of Final Mysteries. She believed that her master wouldn't harm Long Yu. This wait lasted for nearly half an hour. At this time, only the 3 of them were left in the vicinity of the 9 Serenities Palace. Everyone else, whether it was the people from Shen Wu world or the forces from beyond the heavens, had already left this quiet space. Because there was nothing for them to do here, if they were one step too late, they might be trapped here and die. However, as time passed, the three people present gradually felt that something wasn't right. The giant stone tablet next to them was emitting a heart-palpitating aura. It was getting heavier and heavier, causing the three people's bodies to emit an eerie chill. It was as if they were surrounded by the aura of hell. Even as strong as the three people were, they felt an endless chill, as if it was coming from the depths of their bones. Moreover, as time passed, this chill became heavier and heavier. Even experts at the level of Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor couldn't bear it, let alone Shi Yengu. But even so, Shi Yengu still insisted on waiting until the space tunnel closed before she was willing to leave. Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor both frowned. The time for the space tunnel to close was very close, probably less than an incense stick's time. Previously, Long Yu hadn't come out for such a long time. The possibility of him coming out now could be said to be very small. If they didn't leave now, they might all be frozen into ice. Girl, let's hurry up and leave. Since you're fine, Long Yu is definitely fine too. If we continue to stay here, you'll be the one in trouble instead. Lei Emperor looked at Shi Yengu, who was shivering in the cold, and couldn't help but advise her. Shi Yengu also didn't know what to do now. But to directly leave Long Yu here alone, she couldn't do it no matter what. Just as she listened to Lei Emperor's advice and felt a little conflicted in her heart, an incomparably terrifying aura suddenly spread out from the direction of Nine Serenity's Black Palace. It was as if the aura of hell had suddenly enveloped the entire world. This explosion caused the three people's bodies to be completely frozen, and their consciousness to become a little fuzzy. Not good. Looks like something has happened. Let's hurry and leave, Flame Emperor immediately reacted, but it was too late. An even more terrifying and eerie aura suddenly descended from the sky, enveloping the entire quiet space and enveloping the three of them. At the same time, a deafening voice that seemed to come from the endless ancient times resounded in their ears. Chapter 944. I'd have woken up. These four simple words gave people a feeling of endless vicissitude. When these four words spread throughout the entire space, it was as if the entire space had turned into hell. Who was it? Who had woken up? Whether it was the Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, or even Shi Yengu, they all had the same question in their hearts. However, right now their bodies were completely frozen, and they couldn't move at all. They were extremely shocked. In the eyes of the three people, a figure suddenly appeared from the direction of the Nine Nether Profound Palace. It was the missing Long Yu. At this very moment, he actually floated out of the Nine Nether Profound Palace, and his entire body emitted a kind of frightening power and aura. This power, Shi Yengu's eyes widened. She could feel that Long Yu was emitting the power of the Nine Nether Divine Script. However, at this moment, the Nine Nether Divine Script aura on Long Yu's body was countless times stronger than before. What was going on with Long Yu? Also, just who had woken up from this space? Suddenly, Shi Yengu felt that the Long Yu who had appeared at this moment was a little strange. This Long Yu had an evil aura in his eyes. Clearly, it wasn't the eyes of the previous Long Yu. Instead, it was as if he was possessed by someone. I, the Jiyo Dragon Emperor, have finally woken up. From the direction of Long Yu came a slightly crazy voice, causing people who heard it to feel a little fear and despair. It was as if they had fallen into hell. Jiyo Dragon Emperor? Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Shi Yengu all widened their eyes. Jiyo Dragon Emperor, wasn't he the master of the entire Shinwu world? Didn't he die countless years ago? How could he have woken up now? Furthermore, why was it someone who looked like Long Yu speaking? Oh no. Shi Yengu suddenly thought of a possibility, and couldn't help but tremble. She looked at the figure of Long Yu in the distance, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. The final Profound Palace was the deepest part of the Nine Nether Profound Palace. Could there be a remnant will of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor in the final mysterious palace? Furthermore, it was unknown if this strand of remnant consciousness could possess other people and be reborn by borrowing their bodies. The Death Emissary was one of the 4 emissaries under the command of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor. If the Death Emissary deceived Long Yu, allowing Long Yu to enter the final profound palace so that the Jiyo Dragon Emperor could be more conveniently revived, then everything made sense. Thinking of this, Shi Yangwu's face turned pale. Could it be that her master, the Death Envoy, had arranged all of this? However, no matter what the situation was right now, the Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Shi Yangwu couldn't do anything. Under the terrifying hellish aura of Jiyo Dragon Emperor's resurrection, they couldn't resist at all. If I lose my power, I can cultivate it back, but if I lose my life, then it's really over. Late-stage Emperor Realm. This body's talent and foundation aren't bad. Long Yu continued to test his current power in the void. Although his aura was much more dignified than before, the power he could use was still the same as before Long Yu's, the late-stage Emperor Realm. After a series of tests, the spatial passage behind the Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Shi Yangwu quietly closed. The entire space was now sealed off, and in front of them was a newly revived Jiyo Dragon Emperor. Although Long Yu's strength was still only at the late-stage Emperor Realm, his aura was too terrifying. Under this aura, the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor didn't even dare to think of resisting. This feeling was as if they were facing the god who created them. As long as this god waved his hand, they would all be turned into ashes. Thinking about it carefully, this feeling was normal. Whether it was the Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, or even Shi Yangwu, they were all living beings born in Shenwu World. Jiyo Dragon Emperor was the origin of Shenwu World, and the entire Shenwu World was just a small world of Jiyo Dragon Emperor. To them, the Jiyo Dragon Emperor was indeed like a god. Moreover, the aura that Long Yu was emitting right now clearly showed that he could control the entire Shenwu World. Under the influence of this creator's aura, no one in Shenwu World would be able to resist or even have the strength to resist Long Yu. It could even be said that once the Jiyo Dragon Emperor familiarized himself with Long Yu's power, he would be able to take away the power of all living beings in Shenwu World with just a thought. This was the power of a ruler. The terrifying power of the creator of a small world had absolute control over all living beings in the small world. Long Yu. Master, Shi Yangwu's entire body was frozen, but she didn't feel anything. All that was left in her eyes was Long Yu's figure. She couldn't believe that Long Yu had really been possessed by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor. From now on, would there be no more Long Yu? Shi Yangwu couldn't believe it. She wanted to resist. She wanted to chase the Jiyo Dragon Emperor away from Long Yu's body. However, at this moment, she couldn't do that at all. She couldn't even move a finger, because the suppression of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's aura on all living beings in Shenwu World was simply too strong. As for the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor, their faces were also pale. Jiyo Dragon Emperor actually came back to life? Was there a mistake? And he even borrowed the body of the genius Long Yu. But if that's the case, the forces from beyond the heavens would definitely notice this, right? When the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor thought of this, they calmed down slightly. If the forces from beyond the heavens were to notice, they definitely wouldn't allow Jiyo Dragon Emperor to do as he pleased. Although the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's aura could suppress all living beings in Shenwu World, his true strength was only Long Yu's own late-stage Emperor realm. He wouldn't be a match for the experts sent by the forces from beyond the heavens. But the key was, how would the forces from beyond the heavens find out that the Jiyo Dragon Emperor had come back to life? Before the Flame Emperor and the Thunder Emperor could continue their train of thought, the situation on the battlefield changed. Not bad, not bad. He actually cultivated the deathly realm of body refinement. It seems that the deathly envoy left something behind, which was obtained by this body's owner. To be able to cultivate the deathly realm of body refinement to perfection with his own strength, that's pretty good. When the Jiryo Dragon Emperor discovered that Long Yu had cultivated the deathly realm of body refinement, he thought of one of his 4 emissaries, the Deathly Envoy. This martial skill was obviously passed down from the Deathly Envoy. However, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor clearly believed that the Deathly Envoy was already dead, and that Long Yu had only obtained the Deathly Envoy's inheritance. Just as he nodded in satisfaction, a faint voice suddenly floated out from the giant stone tablet in the void. The Death Envoy greets Lord Dragon Emperor and congratulates Lord Dragon Emperor on your revival. Immediately after, a phantom formed from the aura of the Deathly Envoy appeared from the giant stone tablet and flew towards Long Yu. The Deathly Envoy. It really was the Deathly Envoy. When the phantom appeared, an indescribable anger appeared in Shi Yangwu's eyes. This was her master. He actually plotted against Long Yu and used Long Yu as a sacrifice in order to revive the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. The Deathly Envoy obviously noticed the Lei Emperor, the Flame Emperor, and Shi Yangwu. However, in his eyes, these 3 people were obviously not important. He didn't even give them a second look. In his eyes, there was only Long Yu in the middle, who was the recently revived Jiryo Dragon Emperor. When the Jiryo Dragon Emperor heard this, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. He raised his head and looked in the direction that the Deathly Envoy was flying from. When he saw the Deathly Envoy's condition, he immediately understood the truth. Haha, Deathly Envoy, you're actually not dead. This is really unexpected. It seems like today's situation was planned by you. Well done. Long Yu laughed and looked at the Deathly Envoy. Then, he saw the giant stone tablet that the Deathly Envoy was flying from. His expression changed slightly. After so long, the 9 Serenities prison steel actually came here? The 9 Serenities prison steel was the name of the giant stone tablet. Obviously, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor had a deep impression of it. Tens of millions of years have passed. The Deathly Envoy approached Long Yu and sighed. Dragon Emperor, during the time that you weren't here, your small world was taken over by the human race. Even the 7 pillars were turned upside down by the human race. Haha, the human race. Since I, the Dragon Emperor, have revived, the declining human race is no longer in my eyes. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and said, Deathly Envoy, are you the only one left among my 4 messengers? Where are the other 3 messengers now? They have all been annihilated. The Deathly Envoy said casually, as if he didn't feel anything. Speaking of which, tens of millions of years could indeed bury a lot of things. Listening to the conversation between the 2, Shi Yangwu gritted her teeth. She didn't expect the Deathly Envoy to secretly plan so many things to revive the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. In fact, Shi Yangwu didn't care at all about the revival of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. But she hated it. She hated that the Deathly Envoy used Long Yu as a sacrifice. Big brother Long Yu, you will be fine. You have been through countless difficulties. Even if you are possessed by the Jiryo Dragon Emperor today, you will definitely be able to defeat him, right? Shi Yangwu thought in her heart. There was still a trace of hope. However, she knew that this hope was almost impossible. After all, ever since Long Yu appeared, he didn't show any signs of the original Long Yu. It was very likely that the consciousness of Long Yu had been completely suppressed by the consciousness of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. Otherwise, she should be able to see the signs of Long Yu resisting from Long Yu, right? However, just as Shi Yangwu was thinking about this and feeling sad, the situation changed again. The Deathly Envoy, who was gradually approaching Long Yu, suddenly raised his hand. As he raised his hand, the 9 Serenities prison monument suddenly moved, bringing with it a boundless sealing aura, and rushed towards Long Yu. The Deathly Envoy suddenly attacked the newly revived Jiryo Dragon Emperor. Chapter 945. The Death Envoy's actions not only surprised Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and Shi Yangwu, but it also surprised the newly awakened Jiryo Dragon Emperor. Before he was killed, the 4 envoys were his most loyal subordinate. They had helped him with many things. Even if they had to go through fire and water, they had never said half a word of no. Now, the Death Envoy had actually launched a sneak attack the moment he appeared? You dare! Jiryo Dragon Emperor was both shocked and angry. His entire body was instantly surrounded by death energy. It was the death energy entanglement technique. Now that Jiryo Dragon Emperor had occupied Long Yu's body, he could only use the techniques that Long Yu had. Therefore, facing the Death Envoy, Jiryo Dragon Emperor did not have any ability to resist. However, the Death Envoy clearly did not want to kill Long Yu's body. Just when the Death Envoy suddenly made his move, Jiryo Dragon Emperor felt a resistance in his mind, like a surging tide, wanting to expel his consciousness from this body. It was Long Yu's consciousness. Long ago in the final profound palace, while Long Yu was comprehending that wonderful creation, he was flying towards that trace of power. After a long period of time, he was suddenly invaded by a mysterious consciousness. Based on some of his past dreams, Long Yu instantly determined that this consciousness was the remnant consciousness of Jiryo Dragon Emperor. A long time ago, Long Yu had experienced this kind of invasion. However, at that time, Long Yu had directly ripped off the 9 Underworld Dragon seal on his chest. However, the consciousness hidden in the 9 Underworld Dragon seal was only the consciousness of Jiryo Dragon Emperor's doppelganger. If it had succeeded, Long Yu would have been controlled by that consciousness, and would have taken the initiative to come to the 9 Underworld Profound Palace and be occupied by the last consciousness of Jiryo Dragon Emperor. Long Yu had experienced it once, so he reacted very quickly when encountering something similar again. Just as the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's consciousness invaded this body, Long Yu sensed that something was wrong. Hence, he hid his consciousness in the deepest part of his mind, waiting for an opportunity to appear. Otherwise, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor would be able to devour his consciousness in an instant. By then, Long Yu would be completely dead. This instantaneous action had saved Long Yu's life. He didn't know that the Death Envoy would suddenly appear here and launch an attack on the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. However, this was an extremely good opportunity for him. Whether he could survive or not depended on this moment. If it wasn't for this opportunity, even if Long Yu's consciousness was hidden in the deepest part of his mind, it would still be found and destroyed by the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. However, this action required some time, so the Jiryo Dragon Emperor didn't carry it out for the time being. But now, Long Yu seized this opportunity. Following the counterattack of Long Yu's consciousness, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's consciousness finally stopped for a moment. At the same time, the Death Envoy also sensed the state of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor, so it was even more impossible for him to let go of this opportunity. 9 Underworld Tablet, come! The Death Envoy's eerie laughter echoed throughout the entire space. He raised his hand and directly pulled the giant tablet towards him with a terrifying force. It could be seen that at this moment, the Death Envoy had already used up all of his strength. Regardless of whether his current actions were successful or not, it was likely that he would completely disappear from this world after this. After all, the Death Envoy was only a remnant will from 10,000 years ago. It was already not easy for him to exist until now. Once he used up all his strength, the Death Envoy would completely disappear. At this moment, Long Yu finally understood why the Death Envoy had collected so many divine runic source stones. To a normal person, the divine runic source stones were only tools to comprehend source-level divine runes. Thus, they were extremely valuable. But to the Death Envoy, these divine runic source stones contained an extremely rich energy. By relying on this energy to condense, he could move the 9 Nether Prison Tablet and pull it to do something. Secret Technique. 1000 Despair Seal. The Death Envoy's phantom formed from the divine runes of death formed a seal with both hands. Immediately, a wisp of the power of the divine runes of death forcefully pulled out a black dragon's soul from Long Yu's body. The Death Envoy had actually used a secret technique to pull out Jiyo Dragon Emperor's soul from Long Yu's body. Moreover, under the terrifying effect of the Seal of 1,000 Despair, the soul of the black dragon that was curled up was directly sucked into the 9 Hell prison tablet nearby. An enraged voice sounded out, "Death Envoy, what are you doing? You actually sealed this Emperor into the 9 Underworld tablet? Hurry up and tell me, who ordered you to do this? No matter who ordered you, this Emperor will grind their bones to dust." Following this enraged voice, the last remnants of Jiyo Dragon Emperor's soul were constantly sucked towards the 9 Underworld tablet. It was about to be completely sealed within the giant tablet. Do you want to know why? The Death Envoy's phantom was about to dissipate, but at this moment, he smiled in a relaxed manner. His voice was no longer as horrifying as before. Instead, there was a hint of melancholy, as if he were reminiscing about something. The answer is very simple. Tens of thousands of years ago, Jiyo Dragon Emperor, you offended too many people. The heavens sent down divine punishment to thoroughly exterminate you. As the divine rune's envoy of death, it was my duty to share Lord Dragon Emperor's burden. Even if I were to die together with Lord Dragon Emperor, I wouldn't regret it, as long as the people I care about weren't affected. However, you, Jiyo Dragon Emperor, insisted on having everyone die with you. Everyone, my brothers, my wife, my daughter, they were all trapped in Shin Wu world by your seal. In the end, they were all suppressed by you and all of them died. From that moment on, I, the Death Envoy, made up my mind to not let you, Jiyo Dragon Emperor, have any chance to rise again. This is a vengeance that I've planned for countless years. You didn't expect this, did you? Lord Dragon Emperor. The 4 envoys who were willing to sacrifice their lives to protect you all joined hands in the end. The 3 of them sacrificed themselves to give me a chance to survive. For these tens of thousands of years, I've never stopped thinking about how to kill you. Even if I couldn't kill you, I would seal you forever. As the Death Envoy uttered a series of words, everyone present became silent. No one could have imagined that the situation back then would be like this, and that the Death Envoy had always been planning to completely destroy Jiyo Dragon Emperor. It wasn't just Long Yu who didn't think about it, Shi Yengwu didn't think about it, and even more so, Jiyo Dragon Emperor. He didn't expect that he had left behind so many backup plans, so that he could borrow a body to revive in the future. But all of this, because he insisted on having everyone die with him, all of them died at the hands of the Death Envoy. I can't accept this. Jiyo Dragon Emperor roared in anger. But his consciousness was completely sealed by the 9 Underworld monument. The illusory black dragon consciousness that originally wanted to stretch out was forcefully curled up at this moment. It was sucked into the giant monument and completely disappeared from this world. After swallowing Jiyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness, the 9 Underworld monument seemed to have become even more eerie and frightening. Even Long Yu felt a little fearful when he felt that kind of aura. What was the origin of this giant stone tablet? Long Yu thought to himself. But now was obviously not the time to consider this question, because the Death Envoy in front of him couldn't hold on any longer. The illusory figure formed by the divine runes of death was already faintly discernible, as if it would completely disappear in the next moment. "Senior Envoy, how are you?" Long Yu's consciousness returned, and he immediately familiarized himself with controlling his body. He hurriedly flew towards the Death Envoy, but the Death Envoy raised an illusory hand and stopped him. "Don't come over first. This envoy has already recorded everything about this matter in a jade slip. You will know everything once you return to the Azura Ancient Palace. As for now, this envoy will use all of my power to completely seal the 9 Underworld monument, so that Jiyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness will never be able to see the light of day again." Although the Death Envoy was about to disappear, his words were extremely carefree. "That's right, this 9 Underworld monument is a true treasure. Jiyo Dragon Emperor relied on this item to comprehend the 9 underworld divine runes of origin and step into the ruler's secret realm. This 9 underworld monument contains endless secrets. As long as you can control the 9 underworld mark that has been born in your body, it is equivalent to controlling the entire Shen Wu world. At that time, you will be able to comprehend the mysteries of this 9 underworld monument. After saying that, Long Yu saw the Death Envoy's illusory figure turn into a black shadow and collide with the 9 underworld monument. This collision directly stabilized the 9 underworld monument's aura. According to the Death Envoy, he had completely sacrificed himself to seal Jiyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness inside the 9 underworld monument forever. As for the specifics, Long Yu would probably have to return to the Azura Ancient Palace and look at the jade slip to find out. 9 underworld mark? It was born inside my body? Because of the Death Envoy's words, Long Yu checked his dantian. Sure enough, there was a 9 underworld dragon mark, just like the one on his chest. He didn't know where this thing came from. Could it be that when Jiyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness entered his body, it brought this thing along with it? The Death Envoy was saying that controlling this 9 underworld mark was equivalent to controlling the entire Shen Wu world. In other words, this 9 underworld mark was the core of the entire Shen Wu world. Senior Envoy Long Yu blankly stared at the 9 underworld monument that was emitting an eerie aura from afar. Right now, this giant monument was the only thing left in this pitch-black space. Whether it was Jiyo Dragon Emperor or the Death Envoy's consciousness, both had already dissipated in a short period of time. Chapter 946. Outside of the 9 Serenities Palace, in that endless dark and silent space, after a moment of commotion, everything returned to normal. Aside from the 4 people here, no one else knew what had happened here. No one would know that the creator of Shen Wu world, the Jiyo Dragon Emperor, was betrayed by his subordinates when he was about to revive and was sealed away, although the Jiyo Dragon Emperor had brought this upon himself. After 10,000 years of trying to borrow a body to revive, all his efforts were in vain. This kind of thing was truly regrettable. After a while, Long Yu finally calmed down. It was now that he noticed that everyone from Shen Wu world and beyond had already left this space. The entire 9 Serenities profound palace had returned to its silent state. But in the distance there were still 3 people left. They were Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and Shi Yengu. Long Yu was quite surprised by this discovery. Just now, all of his attention was focused on the Death Envoy and the Jiyo Dragon Emperor, so he didn't pay much attention to his surroundings. Only now did he realize that Shi Yengu hadn't left. After having his body occupied by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor for a while, Long Yu wasn't used to it when he regained control of his body. But he quickly got used to it and was able to use all of the powers he had before. At the same time, a 9 Serenities mark appeared in his body. According to the Death Envoy, this was an existence that could control the entire Shen Wu world. But now, Long Yu couldn't feel any aura from the 9 Serenities mark. As the Jiyo Dragon Emperor was sealed away by the 9 Serenities prison tablet, as well as the Death Envoy's aura disappearing, the chilling aura in this space finally disappeared. In the distance, Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and Shi Yengu were no longer in a state where they couldn't move. But now they were faced with an extremely serious problem. They couldn't leave. That's right, they couldn't leave. From the 10,000 layers of space to the 9 Nether Profound Palace, it required 50 years of accumulated energy to open twice. Now that the transmission channel was closed, it was impossible for them to leave this space with their own strength. If Jiyo Dragon Emperor was here, he could easily control everything. But now, Jiyo Dragon Emperor was completely sealed. Unless one's strength surpassed the level of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor back in the day, it would be impossible for them to forcefully break through the barrier. If they tried to force their way through, they would only end up dead. Let's meet up with Big Brother Long Yu first. Maybe he has a way? Shi Yengu said to Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor. In fact, the first thing they wanted to do was to meet up with Long Yu. After all, there were only 4 of them left in this space. If they wanted to find a way out, it would naturally be better if the 4 of them worked together. Very soon, Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor brought Shi Yengu and flew towards where Long Yu was with the power of the divine rune of space. On the way, they passed by the 9 Serenities prison tablet, and were shocked by the eerie aura it emitted. Fortunately, they quickly passed by the 9 Serenities prison tablet and approached where Long Yu was. "Big brother Long Yu, are you alright?" Shi Yengu was the first to shout. Her anxiety was obvious. "I should be fine. But why didn't you guys leave? Did everyone else leave?" Long Yu smiled at Shi Yengu. He wasn't worried about whether or not he could get out of here. After all, the Death Envoy had done so much. He definitely had a backup plan. If he looked carefully, he should be able to find it. "I saw that you didn't come out, so I wanted to wait for you. I didn't expect that you would only appear after the transmission channel disappeared. Moreover, we couldn't move at that time. The Jiyo Dragon Emperor's aura was too terrifying." Shi Yengu said worriedly, "Big brother Long, your body was occupied by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor. Are you really alright?" "I'm really fine. Are you worried that I will suddenly turn into the Jiyo Dragon Emperor?" Long Yu patted Shi Yengu's shoulder and said with a smile, "Don't worry. But Senior Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor, I really implicated you too this time." It's nothing. To be able to witness what happened just now with my own eyes, my life hasn't been lived in vain." Lei Emperor's body was tall and sturdy. His black hair stood up as he laughed brightly. "I already knew that you had a secret, but I didn't think you would hide it so deeply. You even have a connection to one of the 4 envoys of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor. No wonder you surpassed all the other young geniuses of Shen Wu world." "I knew it. What kind of inheritance in Shen Wu world could be stronger than all the ancient ruins? It's most likely related to the Jiyo Dragon Emperor." The Flame Emperor's body was covered in flames. But right now, the flames were being suppressed by the 9 underworld monuments' eerie aura. It was now that Long Yu could clearly see that the Flame Emperor was a very handsome young man. He had a high nose bridge and blue eyes. His bright smile carried a hint of worry. Obviously, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to leave this place alive. "Since the 2 seniors are here, then I can understand a few things about the ruler's secret realm." Seeing their expressions, Long Yu knew that they were probably worried about how to get out. So he didn't waste any time and asked directly, "Seniors, this is the deepest part of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's small world, one of the 7 pillars. Is there any way to get out of here?" Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor were both experienced and knowledgeable. As one of the 5 emperors, they should have some understanding of the ruler's secret realm. Hearing that, Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor both frowned. Lei Emperor shook his head. "We aren't very clear about the ruler's secret realm either. But when we were talking with the forces from beyond the heavens, we heard of a term called world imprint. To affect the small world inside the ruler's secret realm, you either need to be stronger than the cultivator of the ruler's secret realm, or rely on the world imprint. But I'm not very clear about what the world imprint is, since I've never come into contact with this before." World imprint? Hearing that, Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be the 9 nether imprint that Jiyo Dragon Emperor left in his body after possessing him? The Envoy of Death also said that by relying on the 9 nether imprint, he can control the entire Shen Wu world. So this 9 nether imprint does indeed have the ability to affect this small world. But right now, Long Yu can't use the 9 nether imprint at all. Senior Lei Emperor, as one of the 5 emperors, you should know quite a bit about beyond the heavens, right? At this time, Shi Yengu asked. Our Shen Wu world, is it currently being controlled by some force from beyond the heavens? Hearing this question, the Thunder Monarch could only smile bitterly. He shook his head. I can't tell you about that right now. If I break the rules, not only will I be in trouble, but you will also be in big trouble. I'm sure you don't want to run into trouble from beyond the heavens right now, right? Then forget it. Shi Yengu could only stick out her tongue and mischievously shook her head. If this isn't a good question to answer, then she can only give up. But Long Yu spoke up. Seniors, I can try. Just now, when Juyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness took over my body, I seem to have gained a bit of memory. Let me think about it. Maybe I can find a way to leave this place. He didn't want to tell them about the 9 nether imprint, since it was his biggest secret. You can imagine that a 9 nether imprint that can control the entire Shen Wu world would be a great treasure for any force from beyond the heavens. Since Long Yu didn't want to tell them about such a powerful existence, he wanted to study it himself first. If he can find a way to leave this place, he can just say that it's the memories of Juyo Dragon Emperor's consciousness. Hearing what Long Yu said, the 2 emperors naturally nodded in agreement. Because they had no other choice right now, their only hope of leaving this place was still Long Yu. No matter what method Long Yu found, it's fine as long as they can leave this place. They now know that Long Yu has a lot of secrets, so they also know that they can't just strip Long Yu naked to find out everything. Being able to bring them out is already very good of them. Right after that, the 4 of them closed their eyes and cultivated near the 9 nether monument. Of course, there wasn't any spirit essence in this space, so cultivating was useless. But they could use this chance to learn some godly script, martial skills, thaumaturgy, and so on. For Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor, cultivating time was extremely precious. Even a tiny bit of time wouldn't be wasted for no reason. After all, the path of martial arts is limitless, but a person's life is limited. For most cultivators, no matter how much time they spend on cultivation, it's never too much. As for what Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and Shi Yengu were doing, Long Yu didn't care too much. He himself began to study the 9 nether mark in his body. Although he can't feel the power of the 9 nether mark right now, but no matter what, he should try it first. Maybe he can activate it? After all, the 9 nether mark that Long Yu has the deepest understanding of right now is the origin level 9 nether godly script, which should be very similar to the 9 nether mark, the world mark, the 9 nether mark. These two should be the same thing. For Shen Wu world, since this world was created by Juyo Dragon Emperor, then the world mark should be called the 9 nether mark, right? Thinking that, Long Yu began to immerse his mind into his dantian, urging the power of the 9 nether godly script to touch the curled-up 9 nether dragon mark. Even after a few hours, the 9 nether mark didn't change at all, causing Long Yu to doubt whether or not this method would actually work. But after doing this for half a day, he suddenly noticed that the 9 nether mark was undergoing a slight change. From the 9 nether mark, an aura that was similar to Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura was emitted. Chapter 947. In the endless void of space where 9 Serenity Palace was located, it was completely silent. 4 figures were floating near the 9 Serenity prison tablet. At first glance, they all seemed to be resting and cultivating with their eyes closed. Among them, Long Yu was trying to control the 9 Serenity world mark in his dantian. As he constantly used the power of the 9 Serenity divine script to envelop the 9 Serenity mark, the 9 Serenity mark began to emit the aura of the Juyo Dragon Emperor. It was this aura that, once accumulated to a certain degree, would be able to control the entire Shen Wu world. Of course, it was still very difficult for Long Yu to fully control the 9 Serenity mark and would require a lot of time. For the time being, he only needed to try and open the passage to the outside world from 9 Serenity Palace as soon as possible. As the 4 of them cultivated in the void, a month quickly passed. During this time, no one knew what Shen Wu world had become. However, the Red Emperor was defeated by Zhan Quangu and became one of the new 5 emperors. The Battle Emperor, coupled with the absence of Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor, could the Demon Emperor and Saint Emperor stop the growth of the Battle Emperor's forces? In theory, this shouldn't be a problem, but the problem was that once the Red Emperor steps down, many of the forces that the Red Emperor had offended would undoubtedly ally with the Battle Emperor, making the situation quite troublesome. A month's time was enough for the Battle Emperor to do a lot of things. However, Long Yu wasn't worried about the Red Emperor, because Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor had said that anyone who became one of the 5 emperors would be taken away by the forces from beyond the heavens after stepping down and be taken to rest. This was one of the ways to leave Shen Wu world. Of course, there was another more direct way, which was to show off one's talent in martial arts while exploring the Shen Wu world's core, attracting the attention of the forces from beyond the heavens and taking them away. The Shen Wu realm's core was one of the 7 forbidden areas that the strongest King realm cultivators and the top 10 Emperor realm cultivators were qualified to enter. In 1 month's time, a total of 11 of the strongest geniuses from the Shen Wu world would head there together to compete with the geniuses from beyond the heavens. If they performed well, they would be selected to join the forces from beyond the heavens. The realm nucleus of the divine martial arts opened once every 7 years. Therefore, the competition between the strongest king realm and the strongest martial emperor realm was also held once every 7 years. The ultimate purpose of this competition was to help those forces from beyond the heavens select talents. Although the forces of beyond the sky are above Shen Wu world, there are still quite a few decent martial arts geniuses that appear in Shen Wu world. Since they're selected every 7 years, it's very rare for them to be missed. There was less than a month left before the opening of the realm nucleus of divine martial arts. At this moment, Long Yu had finally activated a small portion of the 9th hell mark, around 1% of it. According to this speed, it would take an entire 7 or 8 years for Long Yu to completely grasp the 9th hell mark. At that time, he would have complete control over the entire Shen Wu world. As long as he had 7 or 8 years, Shen Wu world would be his. This was something that not even the Lei Emperor or the Flame Emperor knew, only Long Yu knew. And once he fully grasps the 9th hell mark, Long Yu would be able to enter the 9 Serenities Black Palace at any time and study the giant stone tablet, the 9th hell tablet. The reason why the Jiryo Dragon Emperor was able to rise to power was because he had the 9th hell tablet, but he still hadn't fully grasped the power of the 9th hell tablet. If Long Yu could fully grasp the power of the 9th hell tablet, then his strength would definitely surpass the Jiryo Dragon Emperor at his peak. Of course, it would be very difficult to achieve this, but Long Yu had plenty of time. After all, there was no one that could threaten him right now. Even though the forces from beyond the heavens were powerful, they wouldn't be able to find Long Yu in such a short period of time. Even the ruler's secret realm experts wouldn't be able to predict what would happen in the 9 Serenities Black Palace. Otherwise, the Symbol clan would definitely come looking for Long Yu very quickly. When there was only 1 month left before the opening of the realm nucleus of divine martial arts, Long Yu activated 1% of the 9th hell mark and finally had a feeling. As long as he relied on the aura of the 9th hell mark, he would be able to safely pass through the boundless sea of Qi surrounding the 9 Serenities Black Palace. That boundless sea of 9 nether divine writing was the greatest barrier that obstructed everyone from entering and leaving the 9 nether profound palace. Even if a 7-star monarch were to barge into it, only death would await them. However, Long Yu had the 9 nether mark within his body, and he was very clear that he was already able to safely pass through that sea of 9 nether divine writing barrier. What was outside the Sea of Qi barrier with the 9 Serenities Black Palace? Long Yu was very curious about this. Even the Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and the others didn't know the answer to this question. But very soon, Long Yu would be able to completely reveal it. Even though he only controlled 1% of the 9th hell mark, Long Yu already had the ability to control some of the basic powers of the Shen Wu world. Right now, Long Yu's martial realm hadn't changed. He was still at the late stage of the Emperor realm. But all of his fighting techniques could be infused with a trace of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's aura. As long as he was in the Shen Wu world, his strength would increase by at least 10%. 1% of the ninth Hellmark's aura could increase Long Yu's strength by 10%. If Long Yu could comprehend 1% of the ninth Hellmark's aura, his strength would definitely increase by several times. Of course, this was only limited to when Long Yu was in the Shenwu world. If he went to outer space, this increase would be ineffective. If I bring Shi Yengu, Lei Emperor, and Flame Emperor with me, there shouldn't be any problems. As Long Yu thought to himself, he told the three of them his idea. Of course, he wouldn't tell them that he had grasped 1% of the Divine Battle World imprint, but that he had found a path to the outside world through Dragon Emperor Jiuyo's aura. He couldn't open a spatial path to directly leave this place, but he could pass through the Sea of Qi with the 9 Hell Divine characters around the 9 Hell Palace and leave this space. Of course, Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor were very happy about this. Originally, they thought that they would be trapped in this space for a few years before dying, but now it seems that there was still hope. As for Shi Yengu, needless to say, she completely supported and believed in Long Yu unconditionally. Although the Death Envoy's death was a huge blow to Shi Yengu, Long Yu had returned in the end, making Shi Yengu's mood slightly better. Under Long Yu's lead, the four of them continuously flew towards the outskirts of the 9 Hell Palace. About 3 days later, the four of them arrived at the edge of the Sea of Qi with the 9 Hell Divine characters. Anyone who entered this Sea of Qi would definitely die, but Long Yu said that he had found a safe path. In truth, Long Yu was using the aura of the 9 Hellmark to protect the four of them, so they wouldn't be corroded by the Sea of Qi with the 9 Hell Divine characters. Very quickly, the four of them safely flew into the Sea of Qi with the 9 Hell Divine characters. Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor were completely convinced. This Long Yu really could come up with a solution. How amazing! No one knew how vast this Sea of Qi with the 9 Hellmark was, but Long Yu could roughly feel it. He wasn't using balanced control or Eye of Shadow to sense it, but rather through the 9 Hellmark. The 9 Hellmark was equivalent to the core of the entire Shen Wu world. As long as he could grasp the 9 Hellmark, even if it was only 1%, it would allow Long Yu to form a significant connection with the entire Shen Wu world. If he could fully grasp the 9 Hellmark, Long Yu would be able to clearly sense everything that was happening in the entire Shen Wu world. Of course, it would still take a long time to reach that level. The four of them continued to move forward in the Sea of Qi with the 9 Hell Divine characters, feeling the eerie aura around them. All of them had a different feeling. What would be after passing through this Sea of Qi? No one knew. Even Long Yu could only vaguely sense that what awaited them outside of this energy sea was a vast expanse of void. It was like the wreckage of a small world left behind by the sufferers. Most of the space within it was empty. Of course, because the remains of the suffering victims' small worlds were already in ruins, there was nothing in the void of space. But perhaps there was some sort of spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the void of Shen Wu world. 7 days later, the four figures traversed through the Qi Sea of the divine netherworld characters, and finally arrived at the end of this Qi Sea. As far as the eye could see, the entire space was pitch black, but this space was filled with a high concentration of world energy. This was much better than the situation in the 9 Serenity Profound Palace. At least no matter how long they drifted here, they wouldn't die. However, the same thing as the 9 Hell Profound Palace was that there was no one else here. Wanting to return to the continent of Shen Wu world would still be very difficult. Especially since there was still half a month before the Shen Wu realm's core would open, Long Yu and Shi Yengu wouldn't be able to make it in time. Of course, Long Yu didn't really care about this. Originally, he was looking forward to exploring the Shen Wu realm's core because there was a chance to meet geniuses from beyond the heavens. But now that he had already come into contact with the powerhouses from beyond the heavens in the 9 Hell Profound Palace, he had already lost some of his curiosity. Furthermore, he now had the 9 Hellmark. As long as he fully grasped the 9 Hellmark, he would be able to control the entire Shen Wu world. A mere Shen Wu realm's core, one of the 7 forbidden grounds of Shenwu world, wasn't that attractive to Long Yu. Even if he couldn't make it in time, Long Yu wouldn't have too many regrets. He was just worried that if he didn't return for a long time, something might happen in Shenwu world. For example, the Heavenly Mandate Manor, the North Snow Empire, and so on might be targeted by the new War Emperor. In this half a month, I've comprehended a bit more about the 9 Hellmark. Although it hasn't reached 2%, my control over it has increased quite a bit, at least 1.5%. Long Yu sensed the 9 Hellmark in his dantian. After leaving the 9 Hell Profound Palace, he wanted to find the way back to the continent of Shenwu world. Chapter 948. Very quickly, Long Yu began to use the 9 Serenities mark to gather the unique spatial power contained within the surrounding spirit essence. This spatial power was purely the original power that created Shenwu world, so it shouldn't exist in the world beyond the sky. Only by relying on the 9 Nethermark could he sense this energy. Even other powerful cultivators who entered the ruler's secret realm probably wouldn't be able to sense the unique spatial energy of Shenwu world. Through the 9 Nethermark, Long Yu could sense that Shenwu world's mainland was very, very far below them, at least 1 trillion miles away. If they didn't use a spatial warp, it would take who knows how long to return. Even a few dozen years wouldn't be too long. In fact, Long Yu didn't sense Shenwu world's mainland to determine its location, but rather the Sea of Death aura. The Sea of Death aura that surrounded Shenwu world was one of the 7 forbidden areas of Shenwu world. With Long Yu's current 1% understanding of the 9 Nethermark, he could only faintly sense the location of the 7 forbidden areas of this miniature world, but not the location of Shenwu world's mainland. About half an hour later, Long Yu used the 9 Nethermark's aura to create a small spatial tunnel in front of him. This spatial tunnel naturally led to Shenwu world. However, Long Yu found that the unique spatial energy around him wasn't very dense, so this small spatial tunnel couldn't teleport too far away. We'll probably need to teleport a few dozen times to return to Shenwu world, and on the way, we'll have to pass through the Sea of Death aura that surrounds Shenwu world. As Long Yu told them his calculations, Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor and Shi Yengwu naturally didn't have any objections. Now that Long Yu had already brought them out of the 9 Nether Palace's barren space, they wouldn't be trapped to death in there for a year. This showed that Long Yu really did know something. No matter how Long Yu found out, Lei Emperor and Emperor Yen didn't want to ask. Anyway, they just wanted to go back. Moreover, the journey back with Long Yu would probably be very exciting. After all, even the 5 emperors had only been able to go to the Shenwu world's mainland, as well as the 9 Serenities Palace and the Shenwu realm's core. But now, they had left these 3 places and found themselves in the endless void of Juyo Dragon Emperor's small world. Juyo Dragon Emperor's small world can be called the 9 Nether Realm, to differentiate it from Shenwu world. The 9 Nether Realm is the entire small world, while Shenwu world is the continent that's surrounded by a Sea of Death aura. Shenwu world is only a small part of the 9 Nether Realm. Let's go. Long Yu laughed and led the way through the spatial tunnel he created. He felt himself disappear from where he stood, then immediately arrived at the destination of the spatial tunnel. Originally, Long Yu thought that he would appear in an empty space. However, when he raised his head and looked to the side, he was shocked. The entire 9 Nether Realm was like a void of space. But this void of space wasn't completely void of space. For example, where Long Yu was now, there was an airflow vortex that gave off a dark light. This airflow vortex looked similar to the Death Star vortex, one of the 7 forbidden zones, but the color was different. If it wasn't for the 9 Nethermark, Long Yu wouldn't have been able to discover this dark airflow vortex. Before Long Yu had any plans, Lei Emperor, Emperor Yen, and Shi Yengwu had already passed through the spatial tunnel and followed Long Yu. This time, the spatial tunnel had directly crossed a distance of hundreds of millions of miles. If one were to rely on flying, they might not be able to cover the distance even after dozens of years. This was the benefit of comprehending the 9 nether mark. I'll go ahead and take a look. Wait for a while. After speaking to the 3 of them, Long Yu directly flew towards the dark airflow vortex. He could feel that the airflow vortex seemed to contain a lot of power, and it wasn't the kind of violent power that was very aggressive, but rather a rather gentle power. It was just that it had a slightly strange and gloomy aura. The strange and gloomy aura couldn't scare Long Yu away. After all, the 9 nether divine characters that he mainly comprehended were originally strange and gloomy, and he was already used to this kind of aura. Of course, Lei Emperor, Emperor Yen, and Shi Yenwu didn't dare to move recklessly, for fear of accidentally triggering some kind of restriction. They could only watch as Long Yu flew forward continuously, and his figure became smaller and smaller until he almost disappeared from their sight. When Long Yu was only the size of an ant in their eyes, Long Yu seemed to have finally stopped. The 3 of them could feel that Long Yu seemed to be doing something over there, and now, Long Yu was obviously absorbing the power within the airflow vortex that was emitting a dark light. What made him pleasantly surprised was that the power contained within was actually the aura of Jiryo Dragon Emperor. If it wasn't for the 9 nether mark on his body, once he got close to the airflow vortex, he would probably be repelled by the airflow vortex, not to mention absorbing the aura of Jiryo Dragon Emperor. But to the current Long Yu, such an airflow vortex was definitely the best tonic. 1%, 2%, 3%. Over an hour later, Long Yu was overjoyed. He found that he had actually grasped more than 3% of the 9 nether mark from the airflow vortex. Combined with the 2% from before, Long Yu had directly grasped 5% of the 9 nether mark. This time, his control over the entire Shen Wu world had undoubtedly become even deeper. And this also caused his battle prowess in the 9 nether realm to continue to increase. Originally, grasping 1% of the 9 nether mark could increase his strength by 10% in the 9 nether realm. Now that he had grasped 5% of the 9 nether mark, he could double his strength. The effect was extremely terrifying. Not only that, Long Yu found that his senses towards the aura of the entire 9 nether realm had become even sharper. But unfortunately, other than the 7 forbidden areas, he still couldn't sense the existence of anything else. This jet-black airflow vortex contains the aura of Jiryo Dragon Emperor. It should be distributed throughout the void of the 9 nether realm. But the airflow vortex is too small. I can only barely sense it when I'm within 100 miles of it. Trying to find this kind of airflow vortex in the entire 9 nether realm is like looking for a needle in a haystack. After absorbing the airflow vortex, Long Yu was still a bit unsatisfied, but he knew that this kind of thing was something that could only be discovered by chance. How much of the 9 nether mark does he need to grasp to be able to sense the location of the airflow vortex in the void of the 9 nether realm? Or perhaps there is only one such airflow vortex in the entire 9 nether realm? No matter what, Long Yu couldn't stay and look for the airflow vortex, because it was too difficult, even harder than looking for a needle in a haystack. After all, the entire space of the 9 nether realm was hundreds of millions of times larger than the ocean. They weren't even on the same level. After absorbing the airflow vortex, Long Yu began to head back. He found that the speed at which he could gather the unique spatial energy around him was much faster than before. In just the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he would be able to create a spatial passage like the one before, allowing them to continue heading towards the mainland of the Shen Wu world. Lei Emperor and Flame Emperor didn't get angry at Long Yu for taking such a long time. The 5 emperors had all cultivated for several hundred years. Even if they didn't have much else, they still had patience. After Long Yu returned, the 4 of them continued forward and stepped into the spatial passage that Long Yu had spent the time it took for an incense stick to burn. After Long Yu teleported for the second time, he subconsciously searched for the existence of the Qi whirlpool in the surrounding space, but the result left him quite disappointed. Just as he had expected, the airflow vortex wasn't something that could be found easily. With Long Yu's current mastery of the 9 nethermark, he couldn't sense the airflow vortex that was too far away. In the entire 9 nether realm, the places that Long Yu was most familiar with were the 7 great forbidden areas. 9 Nether Profound Palace. Long Yu's group of 4 had just come out from that place, and were currently moving away from that place. It was the closest forbidden area to them, and they could reach it after 2 teleportations. The Sea of Death aura surrounded the entire Shen Wu world. It wasn't too far away from them, and they could reach it after about 15 teleportations. The next forbidden area that was closer was the Divine Martial Realms core. In Long Yu's perception, the Divine Martial Realms core was a sphere condensed from 9 nether divine runes. Inside the sphere, there was an almost endless amount of Heart Realm energy. This was a powerful thaumaturgy that Jiuyo Dragon Emperor had used in battle when he was still alive, using Heart Realm energy to kill his opponents. Now, it had become a place for the young geniuses from beyond the heavens to explore. The location of the Divine Martial Realms Forbidden Core was to the lower left of where Long Yu and the others were currently. The distance between the Divine Martial Realms Forbidden Core and the Divine Martial Realms Forbidden Core was roughly 3 times the distance between the Divine Martial Realm and the Divine Martial Realms Forbidden Core. The 4th more famous forbidden area was the Death Star Whirlpool. It was located above Long Yu's group, and it was about 50 teleportations away. The Death Star Whirlpool was definitely the strongest of the 7 thaumaturgies of Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. Even from such a distance, Long Yu could still feel the terrifying power of the divine runes within the Death Star Whirlpool. Even if it was a cultivator at the level of the 7-star Emperor, they would be instantly torn to shreds if they tried to enter it. With the 9 nethermark that Long Yu currently had, he could condense 2 teleportations every 2 hours. Even if he wanted to reach the Death Star Whirlpool, it would still take him 7 to 8 years. From this, it could be seen how vast the entire 9 nether realm was. Chapter 949. There were also 3 forbidden zones that were completely different from the previous 4. In fact, they were quite different. One of the forbidden zones was called the 9 Dark Moon. This was a moon-shaped amalgamation of 9 nether godly runes. It didn't give off any light and was constantly orbiting around the Shen Wu realm's core. The distance between it and the Shen Wu realm's core varied from 100 to 1,000 teleportations. In other words, its orbit around the Shen Wu realm's core was an ellipse. Because of this, the 9 Dark Moon would sometimes be closer to Shen Wu world. At that time, some of the stronger people in Shen Wu world would be able to feel an indescribable power. Sometimes, the 9 Dark Moon would even appear in the sky. This phenomenon would only occur once every few hundred years. Whenever the 9 Gloom Dark Moon appears, the entire Shen Wu world can be said to have fallen into a period of darkness. Because the 9 Gloom Dark Moon's mystical power will awaken the remnant wills of many dead living beings in Shen Wu world, causing chaos throughout the entire continent, making it extremely hard to deal with. Long Yu had heard about this before, so after a bit of observation, he found that the 9 Dark Moon was already revolving and approaching Shen Wu world. In just a few months, it would probably trigger the Dark Moon Calamity, that only occurs once every 3 to 500 years. Because the 9 Dark Moon's presence was extremely well hidden, it could only be sensed when it was closest to the 9 Dark Moon. Because of this, the alliance of 5 emperors hadn't made sufficient preparations for the 9 Dark Moon Calamity. But this time, Long Yu relied on the 9 nethermark to predict the 9 Dark Moon's arrival. Besides the 9 Dark Moon, there were 2 other forbidden zones in the 9 nether realm, the Soul Depository Hell and the Bone-Burying Dragon Field. The Soul Depository Hell contained the remnant souls of countless living beings that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor had killed before. Releasing these remnant souls to explode during battle would cause a terrifying amount of damage, even the remnant souls of sovereign realm cultivators were sealed there. As for the bone-burying dragon field, it was a summoning ability for the Geo Dragon Emperor. By using the bone-burying dragon field, he could summon bone dragons one after another to help him in battle. It was a pretty good innate ability. But now, the buried soul hell and the bone-burying dragon field had become forbidden grounds for cultivators. The moment one stepped into the buried soul hell and the dragon bone burial ground, they would be torn to shreds by the uncontrollable remnant souls of the living beings and the will of the dragon bones. Even experts from the sovereign's secret realm wouldn't be able to withstand it. The 7 great forbidden lands were the original 7 divine abilities of the Geo Dragon Emperor, and they contained the majority of the power of the Netherworld realm. Long Yu was looking forward to it. If he could control the entire Netherworld realm, wouldn't he be able to control the 7 great forbidden areas? With the complete mastery of the Mark of 9 Nether, Long Yu could perform these innate skills just like the Geo Dragon Emperor. However, that would have to wait until Long Yu had complete mastery over the Mark of 9 Nether. If he tried to forcibly control the 7 great forbidden areas in his current half-baked state, he would definitely be killed by the terrifying power contained within. Let's head back first. Battle Emperor has replaced Shifu and become the new 5 emperors. I wonder how Yu Hanxin, Shu Chan, Xing Fa, and the others are doing, Long Yu thought to himself. Right now, he was only 40 teleportations away from the Sea of Death aura outside of Shen Wu World. If everything went smoothly, he would be able to reach it in 2 days. As for the Sea of Death aura, Long Yu wasn't worried about not being able to pass through it. As long as he could sense the unique spatial energy of the Netherworld realm, he would be able to teleport through the Sea of Death aura. Even if he couldn't, Long Yu would be able to bring everyone through the Sea of Death aura just like how he brought them out of the 9 Nether Palace and onto the land of Shen Wu World. The 4 of them followed Long Yu through the endless void of space, getting closer and closer to Shen Wu World. But the current Shen Wu World, because Battle Emperor had replaced the Red Emperor, as well as the disappearance of both Lei Emperor and Yen Emperor, the overall situation in Shen Wu World was a bit chaotic. In the past, the replacement of the 5 emperors would always cause a bit of chaos. This was something that couldn't be avoided. But this time, the Battle Emperor's ascension and the disappearance of 2 emperors had caused even more chaos than the previous replacements of the 5 emperors. For the past month, Battle Emperor had basically cleaned up the alliance of 5 emperors and the 5 emperors' holy city, as well as all the forces and cultivators that had close ties with the Red Emperor. Although he couldn't kill them openly, he had chased them all out of the holy city of the 5 emperors. For example, the original personal disciples of the Red Emperor, Xing Fa, Dao Jingtian, Yu Shaoyin, Yu Lin Feng, Nalin Jun, and Yu Hanxin. Other than the missing Long Yu, the 6 of them had all been chased out of the holy city of the 5 emperors. And so, they could only follow Yu Hanxin back to the North Snow Empire and promote the North Snow Empire to the Northern Snow Empire, so they could only peacefully develop like this. Although Battle Emperor had become one of the 5 emperors, he couldn't do as he pleased. It was still very difficult for him to act against Yu Hanxin and the others. After all, Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian were both 2-star emperors, so they weren't much weaker than Battle Emperor. If they worked together to fight against Battle Emperor, it was hard to say who would win. However, because of this, the development of the Northern Snow Empire was greatly restricted. Battle Emperor openly supported the few major powers around the Northern Snow Empire: Tianqin Empire, Shenluo Empire, and High Clouds Empire. Among them, the eldest prince of the Tianqin Empire directly consumed some elixirs provided by Battle Emperor, and in addition to his own comprehension, he directly stepped into the Emperor realm. Tianqin Empire also became the Tianqin Empire. The Northern Snow Empire was suddenly sandwiched between the 3 great empires, and these 3 great empires were all guarded by experts arranged by Battle Emperor. With just the strength of Xing Fa and the others, it was impossible to swallow up these three great empires. Under such circumstances, the people of these three great empires finally found a little joy in revenge. For the Tianqin Empire, Long Yu and Shu Quan had killed the sixth prince of the Tianqin Emperor, who was also the sixth brother of the current emperor of the Tianqin Empire. Naturally, both sides had a deep hatred. As for the High Clouds Empire, Long Yu was related to the death of the emperor of the Tianqin Empire's third son, and killed his second and eldest sons. This kind of hatred was needless to say. The higher the cultivation realm of a cultivator, the more difficult it was to have children. For the Cloud Emperor, it was not so easy for him to have another son. Therefore, to him, the hatred between him and Long Yu was the end of the family line. In the Shunluo Empire, Long Yu killed more than 10 Emperor realm experts of the Shunluo Empire in the wreckage of the small world of the Suffers, causing the entire Shunluo Empire to be unable to recover from this setback. The eldest prince of the Shunluo Empire was also an Emperor realm expert, and he had a deep hatred with Long Yu for killing his father and younger brother. It was even more impossible for him to let Long Yu go. As a result, the three great empires formed an alliance to completely restrain the Northern Snow Empire and restrict the development of the Northern Snow Empire. Regarding the disappearance of Long Yu, the three great empires naturally clapped their hands in joy. Originally, in the competition of the strongest emperor realm, Long Yu's terrifying strength had shocked the people of the three great empires. They thought that after the Divine Martial Emperor Conference ended, their three great empires would also be finished. However, they didn't expect that two major events would happen in the Divine Martial Emperor Conference. The Battle Emperor replaced the Red Emperor as one of the new 5 emperors, and Long Yu directly disappeared. It seemed that he had been secretly killed by others in the 9 Serenities Black Palace. After all, Long Yu was a genius, but a genius that had yet to fully mature. Some Emperor realm experts could still kill Long Yu. A month after the Divine Martial Emperor Conference ended, it could be said that it was spring for the three great empires. At the same time, it was spring for the Taiwu Empire, Water Moon Sword Sect, and other sects and forces. They were on good terms with the Battle Emperor, and very quickly received many benefits. These benefits were originally given to his collaborators by the Red Emperor, but now all the forces that cooperated with the Red Emperor were driven out of the holy city of the 5 emperors. It could be said that after the Divine Martial Emperor Conference ended, the overall situation of the Divine Martial world changed drastically. In addition to the Red Emperor's faction being suppressed, the other 2 factions of the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor who had gone missing were also in a bad situation. Although they hadn't been pushed aside for the time being, if the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor continued to go missing, their 2 factions would decline sooner or later. At that time, they might find a new expert to replace the positions of the Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor. If that happened, their fate would be the same as the current Yu Hanxin, Xing Fa, and the others. The Red Emperor's faction was fine. In addition to the disappearance of Long Yu, the other 6 personal disciples of the Red Emperor were fine. However, the Lei Emperor's faction was very unlucky. The 7th personal disciple, Zhong Jian, and the 8th personal disciple, Lu Feihong, had also gone missing in the 9 Serenities Black Palace. In this situation, it could be concluded that the 2 of them were dead. The strength of the Lei Emperor's faction had also been greatly weakened. The Flame Emperor's faction didn't have many casualties, but the Flame Emperor and Lei Emperor had both gone missing. This was already the biggest accident and loss. No one knew that at this time, Long Yu was bringing the 3 of them back to Shen Wu world from a faraway place. Neither the Lei Emperor nor the Flame Emperor had gone missing. Neither Long Yu nor Shi Yengu had died. Not only that, but Shi Yengu had also received a gift from the Sky faction. The Sky First Division's 2 geniuses, the Sky First Division's twin cranes. They were 2 small dolls, one male and one female. These 2 dolls, when activated, could exert the strength equivalent to that of a 5-star emperor. When released, they could absolutely crush the Battle Emperor. Of course, Shi Yengu had already told this to Long Yu. She also gave the small dolls to Long Yu for safekeeping. With these two small dolls, Long Yu suddenly felt more confident. If the people of the Battle Emperor's faction dared to attack the people of the North Snow Dynasty or the Heavenly Mandate Manor, Long Yu would definitely make the Battle Emperor regret it. Although more than a month had passed, and the Battle Emperor must have met the representatives of the forces from beyond the sky and had the support of the forces from beyond the sky, the dolls in Long Yu's hands belonged to the Sky First Division of the forces from beyond the sky. As long Long Yu didn't show up and activate the dolls to kill the Battle Emperor, even if the people from beyond the sky came to investigate, they wouldn't be able to find Long Yu. If they had the guts, why didn't they go directly to the Sky First Division? Long Yu believed that the Sky First Division was still quite powerful. At least, the forces from beyond the sky wouldn't cause trouble for the Sky First Division over the life of a mere Battle Emperor. In fact, the Sky First Division was originally a part of the forces from beyond the sky. Chapter 950. It's been almost 2 months since the end of the Shen Wu Conference. There were only 10 days left before the strongest king realm and top 10 emperors left to explore Shen Wu World's core. At this time, Long Yu had finally brought Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor and Shi Yengu through the Sea of Death Aura outside of Shen Wu World and returned to the mainland of Shen Wu World. After arriving at Shen Wu World, Long Yu found that the effects of the 9 Serenities mark had become even more prominent. The distance between the mainland of Shen Wu World from one end to the other isn't even as far as the distance he could teleport from one end to another. What does this mean? It means that as Long Yu wants, he can appear anywhere in Shen Wu World at any time. He doesn't need to use the Alliance of 5 Emperors' teleportation formation anymore. He only needs to rely on the 9 Serenities mark to condense the unique spatial power of the 9 Serenities realm to reach any place in Shen Wu World at any time, or even leave Shen Wu World. This is the effect of the 9 Serenities mark. And right now Long Yu only has 5% of the mark's full power. It's not hard to imagine that when Long Yu can fully control the mark, he'll be the equivalent of a god of Shen Wu World, or the equivalent of a god of the entire 9 Serenities realm. He doesn't need to have any martial realm, even if he lost his cultivation. As long as he fully controls the mark, he'll be invincible in the 9 Serenities realm. Because this means that the entire 9 Serenities realm is equivalent to Long Yu's own small world. Let's return to the 5 Emperors' holy city first and see what's going on inside, Long Yu told the 3 of them. He can be sure that the new Battle Emperor will definitely take action against the Red Emperor's original forces. Now that the Red Emperor can be said to have retired and been taken to Beyond Heaven World by Beyond Forces to recuperate, but the other forces that the Red Emperor belonged to can't be taken away. In fact, other than the 5 Emperors, no one in Shen Wu World knows where the Red Emperor went after being replaced. With Lei Emperor and Emperor Yen around, Long Yu didn't need to worry about encountering any danger on his way to the 5 Emperors' holy city. First of all, there were some debts that had to be collected first. For example, Long Yu had previously set up life and death duels with many people, such as the head of the Qin clan, Qin Changyue, the head of the Gongsun clan, Gongsun Rong, the elder of the Water Moon Sword sect, Ji Haokong, and the 6th direct disciple of Lei Emperor, Gu Yuntian. With regards to Long Yu and Gu Yuntian's battle to the death, Lei Emperor had not expressed any opinion. However, Lei Emperor knew that the current Gu Yuntian was definitely not a match for Long Yu. Because of that, when Lei Emperor returned, he would try to persuade Gu Yuntian once. If Gu Yuntian didn't listen and insisted on fighting Long Yu, then Lei Emperor wouldn't be able to do anything about it. From the Lightning Emperor and the Flame Emperor, Long Yu learned a few things. The 5 Emperors have always had the tradition of going to Shen Wu World to choose a direct disciple, but this tradition wasn't something they were willing to do. It was a request from the forces from beyond the sky. The direct disciples of the 5 emperors were usually quite talented, so Beyond Heaven also wanted to absorb talented martial arts geniuses from Shen Wu world. Since they couldn't personally pick them, they gave this task to the 5 emperors. As long as the 5 emperors provided Beyond Heaven with decent martial arts geniuses, the 5 emperors would receive some rewards from Beyond Heaven. From this point of view, the so-called rulers of Shen Wu world, the 5 emperors, were nothing more than tools for Beyond Heaven. After Long Yu gathered his special spatial power and created a spatial warp tunnel, Lei Emperor and Emperor Yan first returned to the holy city of the 5 emperors. As for Long Yu and Shi Yengu, they didn't enter the holy city of the 5 emperors. Instead, they first returned to the Azura Ancient Palace outside the city. Because of the Azura Ancient Palace's innate stealth ability, no one noticed the Azura Ancient Palace. As soon as he entered the Azura Ancient Palace, Long Yu thought of this place. The scene of the Death Envoy teaching him martial skills and exchanging pointers with him made him sigh with emotion. He didn't think that the Death Envoy would disappear from this world just like that. I can't believe that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor still has a consciousness left behind. This is too scary. Just how powerful was his martial arts realm to reach this level? Shi Yengu also recalled the Death Envoy and the situation in the 9 Nether Black Palace. She couldn't help but find it hard to believe. An existence that had died countless years ago still had a consciousness left behind, and even borrowed a body to be reborn. Just how terrifying was this? Although the Death Envoy still had a consciousness left behind, it was the combined power of the 4 envoys that allowed him to exist until now. Moreover, the Death Envoy couldn't borrow a body to be reborn, otherwise, he would have chosen to be reborn long ago. Let's first look for the Jade Scroll left behind by the Death Envoy. It should have recorded everything, we'll understand once we read it. As Long Yu spoke, he used the Azura Source Stone to search the entire Azura Ancient Palace. Then, in the central hall of the Azura Ancient Palace, he found a jade scroll sealed in a wooden box. This jade scroll carried the aura of the Death Envoy. It was definitely a jade scroll left behind by the Death Envoy before he left. Long Yu and Shi Yengu took it out and started to look at the contents recorded in the jade scroll. The Death Envoy, along with the Azura Envoy, the Underworld Envoy and the Hell Envoy are known as the 4 Nether Envoys. We are the 4 generals under the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor, and also the most loyal subordinates of the Dragon Emperor. In the past, for the sake of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor, we went through fire and water, disregarded life and death. Even when the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor summoned the heavenly punishment, we were willing to live and die together with him. However, the one thing that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor shouldn't have done was to let everyone around him die with him. We, the 4 Nether Envoys, have families, juniors, and friends. These people were all buried in the 9 Nether Realm because of a single thought of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. The 4 of us knew that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor had arranged a plan to borrow a body to be reborn. Originally, we were all looking forward to the rebirth of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor and truly stepping into the realm of gods. However, when we saw all our loved ones die in the heavenly punishment, we were enraged. The other 3 envoys of the 4 Nether Envoys used all their strength at the last moment to protect the remnant consciousness of the Death Envoy, so that the remnant consciousness of the Death Envoy could continue to exist. A long time ago, I once found the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor in the Divine Battle World and told them that the Jiuyo Dragon Seal that everyone in the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor was born with was a tool for the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor to borrow a body to be reborn. Therefore, I helped everyone in the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor to leave this small world. Right now, the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor should have already established his own force in the Beyond Heaven world. Seeing this, Long Yu recalled that he had seen some cultivators in the Jiuyo Black Palace using the power of the Jiuyo divine characters. They should be the clansmen of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor, who had gone to the Beyond Heaven world. There were many things recorded in the jade slip left behind by the Death Envoy. These were all things that Long Yu really wanted to know. Leaving behind the Jiryo Dragon Seal was the greatest reliance for the Jiryo Dragon Emperor to borrow a body to be reborn. After everyone in the Jiryo Dragon Emperor left for the Beyond Heaven world, I was sure that no one would be able to become a tool for the Jiryo Dragon Emperor to borrow a body to be reborn. Therefore, I returned to the place where I died and preserved the last remnant consciousness. It was all to ensure that the Jiryo Dragon Emperor would not be reborn. Until I found you, Long Yu. I also did not expect that after the entire Jiryo Dragon Emperor left the Divine Battle World, there would actually be someone with the Jiryo Dragon Seal. At first, I thought that it was another part of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's plan, but I soon found out that it was not the case. Because the Jiryo Dragon Seal on your body was not innate, it was more like someone had attached it to you. When I saw you, I had an idea. I knew that if I left just like that, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor might have a chance to borrow a body to be reborn in the future. Therefore, I decided to completely destroy him. The thing that I relied on to completely destroy the Jiryo Dragon Emperor was the thing that the Jiryo Dragon Emperor relied on to rise to power: the Jiryo Prison Tablet. The Jiryo Prison Tablet can be said to be an ancient object. Even the Jiryo Dragon Emperor doesn't know where it came from. However, just by relying on the Jiryo Prison Tablet, the Jiryo Dragon Emperor had already touched upon the level of the gods. He was only one step away from the level of the god. From this, it can be seen that the Jiryo Prison Tablet most likely belongs to the gods. The gods are only a legend in the Beyond Heavens world, but I know that the gods definitely exist. Through the Jiryo Prison Tablet, as long as I gather enough divine rune source stones and use the energy within, I can seal the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's consciousness into the Jiryo Prison Tablet, making it impossible for him to escape. There were many things recorded in this jade slip, the most important of which was the Envoy of Death and the Jiryo Dragon Emperor's past deeds. However, Long Yu was still unable to see the most important things. For example, why was the Jiryo Dragon Seal on his body artificially attached? Consort Yu, why did she attach the Jiryo Dragon Seal on my body? Long Yu's mind was filled with more and more questions. Could it be that Consort Yu wanted the Jiryo Dragon Emperor to borrow his body to reincarnate successfully? Now that the Jiryo Dragon Emperor had been completely destroyed, would Consort Yu appear and take any measures? Or perhaps, everything that happened now was completely under the control of Consort Yu, and the complete destruction of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor was also part of Consort Yu's plan? Long Yu did not know. However, from the fact that Long Yu appeared on the Heavenly Mandate Island when he was reborn into this world, it could be seen that Consort Yu might have already arranged for Long Yu to meet the Envoy of Death. The Envoy of Death was located in the Shura County, and the Heavenly Mandate Island was in the sky above the Shura County. Long Yu believed that this was not a coincidence. It could be imagined that if the Envoy of Death's burial place was somewhere else, he would not be on the Heavenly Mandate Island when he was reborn into this world. Chapter 951. In the jade slip that the Death Envoy left behind, apart from the various matters regarding him and the 9 Abyss Dragon Empress and the others, it also recorded all the ancient and immemorial martial skills that the Death Envoy knew, as well as the dozens of different levels of god chains and god formations that he knew. Of course, most of these ancient and archaic martial arts techniques were only suitable for cultivators who had comprehended the divine script of death, such as Shi Yenguo and Long Yu. Divine chains and divine formations were also compatible with the divine script of death. There were also some martial arts techniques and divine chains that did not require the cultivator to comprehend the divine script of death, but at least the divine script of shadow. Otherwise, the cultivator would not be able to use them at all. Moreover, if they were used with the divine script of death, their power would be maximized. These things were definitely precious resources for Long Yu. He had no use for them, But if he gave them to the Death Army of the Heavenly Mandate Manor, the Death Army would definitely become the strongest army in the entire Shenwu world. When the martial arts practitioners of the Death Army entered the Emperor realm, their combat power would completely surpass that of ordinary martial arts practitioners of the Emperor realm. Apart from these things, the Death Messenger did not leave anything else. After all, he had been dead for countless years, and the only things he had were these kinds of knowledge. After reading the Jade Scroll left behind by the Death Messenger, Shi Yenwu missed the Death Messenger even more. After all, in the past year, she had cultivated with the Death Messenger for a whole year. The martial arts she had today was all because of the Death Messenger's wholehearted cultivation. Long Yu saw Shi Yangwu's expression and couldn't help but smile. He patted her shoulder and comforted her. Don't be too sad. The Death Messenger does not belong to this era. He has fulfilled his long-cherished wish and left. To him, it is a kind of release. The most important thing for us is to look forward and not let down the Death Messenger's expectations of us. Yes. Shi Yenwu nodded heavily. This little girl had grown up and became more slender and elegant. However, because she had comprehended the divine script of death at the origin level, her whole body emitted a cold aura that made people a little unapproachable. Let's go to the Five Emperors' holy city to take a look. I wonder what the Battle Emperor has done to the Five Emperors' holy city. Long Yu said to Shi Yenwu. Then, he took her directly to the holy city of the Five Emperors. Although there was a flight restriction array within the holy city of the Five Emperors, they could still use the space attribute divine text. Not to mention that Long Yu was relying on the Netherworld mark to activate the special spatial divine characters of the Netherworld realm. After entering the holy city of the Five Emperors, Long Yu's eye of shadow immediately covered the entire city. The entire situation in the Five Emperors' holy city, except for the holy tower, could not escape Long Yu's perception. Soon, Long Yu discovered that there was not a single friend in the entire holy city of the Five Emperors. Those from the North Snow Dynasty, the Heavenly Mandate Manor, and the faction that was originally the Red Emperor's personal disciple had all disappeared from the holy city of the Five Emperors at this moment. In the holy city of the Five Emperors, the only ones who had a good relationship with Long Yu were the Su medicine shops, which Su Ningguan and the Lin merchant house's chief steward Lin Ruizai. This situation made Long Yu quite surprised. It seemed that if he wanted to understand the situation now, other than returning to the holy tower, he could only ask Su Ningguan and Lin Ruizai. As for returning to the holy tower without any preparation, of course, Long Yu would not do that. After all, the holy tower was something that belonged to the forces beyond the heavens. The Five Emperors had absolute control over it. If the War Emperor wanted to deal with Long Yu in the holy tower, it would be a piece of cake. Even if he took out the two 5-star Emperor-level puppets and activated them, he might not be able to deal with the War Emperor. The holy tower was the same as the wreckage of the small world of the Suffers. It was a small world space that belonged to someone. The power inside could be controlled through the seal. The Five Emperors had the seal inside the holy tower. It was impossible for Long Yu to gain an advantage inside. Fortunately, Long Yu was not in a hurry. With the Holy Emperor and the Devil Emperor around, the War Emperor could not do anything too excessive. At most, he could suppress other forces. Now that he had returned to the holy city of the Five Emperors, the first thing he had to do was to continue the unfinished battle. 4 life and death battles. Long Yu remembered them clearly. First, the Qin family's head, Qin Zhangyu. Second, the Gongsun family's head, Gongsun Rong. Third, one of the 18 elders of the Water Moon Sword sect, Ji Haokong. Fourth, the 6th personal disciple of the Lei Emperor, Gu Yuntian. If Long Yu did not return, these people would be happy. Unfortunately, Long Yu still disappointed them. Long Yu brought Shi Yenwu with him, and used balanced control to hide. He went to the Lin merchant firm to find the chief butler, Lin Ruizai, and then asked about the recent situation in the holy city of the five emperors. The War Emperor replaced the Red Emperor and became one of the five emperors. Of course, this had a great impact on the Lin merchant firm. Lin Ruizai did not show too much flattery to the War Emperor, so the War Emperor did not have any conflict of interest with the Lin merchant firm. Instead, the War Emperor personally supported the other three merchant firms, wanting to develop them. In this way, the War Emperor could be said to be a complete competitor of the Lin merchant firm. Lin Ruizai was naturally very excited about the appearance of Long Yu. Originally, he thought that such a genius had fallen in the Nine Nether Palace. He did not expect that not only was Long Yu fine, but he also seemed to have obtained a lot of opportunities. Although a lot of things happened in the holy city of the five emperors recently, in summary, it was just that. In just over a month, the War Emperor had already established a foothold in the holy city of the five emperors. However, it was said that at this moment, the battle was not in the holy city of the five emperors, but he had gone out to choose other personal disciples. Long Yu wasn't surprised by this, because the Thunder Emperor and the Flame Emperor had said that after the five emperors ascended to power, their most important responsibility was to find enough geniuses with extraordinary talent, accept them as personal disciples, and nurture them. Since the War Emperor was not here, things were much easier. Chief Butler Lin, please spread the news of my return and let the four people who want to fight to the death with me prepare. 3 days later, I, Long Yu, will challenge them outside the holy city of the five emperors. I will not rest until one of us is dead. Long Yu said to Lin Ruizai. Lin Ruizai was definitely very good at spreading news. As for the impact of this news, Long Yu could not wait to blow things up because the War Emperor actually chased the Red Emperor's faction out of the holy city of the five emperors. This kind of thing would not have happened when the five emperors were replaced in the past. This matter, the War Emperor had gone too far. In addition, Lin Ruizai revealed to Long Yu that the War Emperor had paid special attention to the Northern Snow Empire and wanted to firmly stop the development of the Northern Snow Empire. This, of course, made Long Yu very unhappy. Since you, the War Emperor, want to cause trouble, then I will not be afraid of you. Let's first fight to the death to announce that I, Long Yu, am back. Then, we will slowly plan how to deal with the War Emperor. There were only 10 days left before the exploration of the divine martial realm nucleus. In these 10 days, Long Yu wanted to settle the War Emperor. It would be best if he could find an opportunity to use the 5-star Emperor puppet to deal with the War Emperor and kill him. Therefore, Long Yu was not afraid of the matter becoming bigger. Instead, he was afraid that the War Emperor did not know about this matter and did not appear in these 10 days. As long as the War Emperor was dealt with, Long Yu could then return to the Northern Snow Empire to help deal with the 3 empires around it. These 3 empires had been gone for quite a long time. Long Yu could not let them continue to exist. The news of Long Yu's return and his fight to the death instantly spread throughout the holy city of the 5 emperors. Qin Clan's clan head, Qin Changyu, was very happy at this moment. When he suddenly heard this news, he couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. That brat, Long Yu, actually did not die? When Qin Changyu's eldest son heard the news, he couldn't help but curse. That brat, even if he's back, it's still nothing. Father, didn't Lord Battle Emperor give you an ancient transcendent rank combat weapon? Furthermore, you've recently broken through to the mid-stage martial emperor realm and comprehended an ancient transcendent rank martial skill. The rise of our Qin clan is in sight. How could we be stopped by that brat? That's right. Qin Changyu calmed down after thinking about this. His eyes revealed a ruthless glint. That Long Yu has obstructed our Qin clan's development time and time again. This time we must kill him. So what if it's a life or death duel? With Lord Battle Emperor's support, that brat is dead for sure. This son wishes father a victory in advance, a good start for the rise of our Qin clan. Qin Chang Yu's eldest son said with a smile. It wasn't that he was ambitious, but that was what he thought. From his point of view, a mere Long Yu who was younger than him, how strong could he be? The current Qin Chang Yu was not someone that a mere first-ranked Emperor realm expert could deal with. After all, ancient transcendent rank martial skills and combat weapons were extremely rare. Qin Chang Yu had familiarized himself with them in the past month, allowing him to unleash a considerable amount of power. Adding that to his breakthrough to the mid-stage martial emperor realm, he might be able to win against Long Yu. On the other side, in the Gongsun clan, the clan head, Gongsun Rong, was in the same situation. With the support of the cultivation resources provided by the Battle Emperor, he had stepped into the late-stage martial emperor realm, allowing the Gongsun clan to become one of the strongest clans in the holy city of the Five Emperors. At this moment, Gongsun Rong's face was filled with pride. He was proud of the future development of the Gongsun clan. With the support of the Battle Arch, the Gongsun clan would definitely rise. When Gongsun Rong heard the news of Long Yu's return and his challenge to a life-or-death duel, he harumphed coldly, "If it was the old me, I might not be his opponent, but now since he wants to die, I, Gongsun Rong, will fulfill his wish." In the past, he had the support of the Red Emperor, but now that the Red Emperor has stepped down, what does he have left to show off? Clan head, you might not have the chance to deal with that brat. After all, before you, there was still the life-or-death duel between the Qin clan head and that brat. Maybe even that brat is no match for the Qin clan head. A member of the Gongsun clan said with a smile. Chapter 952. In the Water Moon Sword Sect. In a hall, Ji Haokong and another 10 divine rune crystals had been strengthened. Even an attack from a martial emperor would not be able to destroy it. With the financial resources of the Lin family's merchant firm and the Su medicine shop, it was not a big deal for them to take out some divine rune crystals. Most importantly, through the arrangement of this battle, the reputation of the Lin family's merchant firm and the Su medicine shop would naturally increase. It would be enough to firmly suppress the 3 new merchant firms that the Battle Emperor wanted to cultivate. For the Lin family's merchant firm and the Su medicine shop, this action undoubtedly had various benefits. As for offending the Battle Emperor, the other Battle Emperors had already categorized them as enemies. Why would they be afraid of offending the Battle Emperor? After all, the sacred city of the 5 emperors was not yet under the control of the Battle Emperor. This battle directly attracted the major forces from the sacred city of the 5 emperors. There were millions of martial cultivators, and they all came out of the city to watch these consecutive battles to the death. The entire sacred city of the 5 emperors was filled with people. Most of them ran out to watch Long Yu's battle to the death. Under such a situation, Long Yu was leisurely chatting with Lin Ruizai and Su Ningguang. In these 3 days, Long Yu took out some ancient elixir recipes and made a good deal with Lin Ruizai and Su Ningguang. It was said that although the Northern Snow Empire and the Heavenly Mandate Manor had a lot of wealth, they had no place to buy cultivation resources. The other merchant firms in the sacred city of the 5 emperors all listened to the Battle Emperor's orders. They would not sell any cultivation resources to the original Red Emperor's faction. Therefore, Long Yu made a deal with the Lin family's merchant firm and the Su medicine shop. He used ancient elixir recipes to exchange for some cultivation resources. It was mutually beneficial for both parties. Outside the sacred city of the 5 emperors, everyone stopped to watch the battle platform. Soon, a shout came from the city gate. Then, Lei Emperor and Emperor Yen led their personal disciples and walked straight toward the fighting ring. Whether it was Emperor Lei or Emperor Yen, both had a good impression of Long Yu. Of course, they were on Long Yu's side. It was just that little brother Long Yu, this emperor's 6th direct disciple, Gu Yuntian, isn't willing to give up on the life and death duel with you. Therefore, after your first 3 battles, you'll still have to fight him. Lei Emperor walked up and said with a sigh. Yes. Long Yu nodded and glanced at the people behind Lei Emperor. The chief direct disciple, Wu Long, the second direct disciple, Su Qiubai, the third direct disciple, Ji Bai, the sixth direct disciple, Gu Yuntian, the ninth direct disciple, Huang Zetian, and the 10th direct disciple, Yi Ziwei. Among them, the 7th and 8th direct disciples had already been killed by Long Yu in the Nine Serenities Palace. He didn't tell Lei Emperor about this, because there was no need to. As for Lei Emperor's 4th and 5th direct disciples, Long Yu hadn't seen them, but he didn't care. He glanced at the people behind Lei Emperor and found that they were all looking at him with different expressions. Wu Long, Ji Bai, Gu Yuntian, and Huang Zetian obviously hated him, and there was no possibility of reconciliation between the two sides. Su Qiubai and Yi Ziwei didn't hate Long Yu, but they were more curious about Long Yu. According to Lei Emperor, the reason Lei Emperor and Emperor Yen were able to come out of the Nine Serenities Palace was all because of Long Yu. This meant that Long Yu definitely had a huge secret. Long Yu glanced at Yi Ziwei and slightly noticed the Genesis Thunder seal on her forehead. He smiled and nodded at her, but didn't say anything. The Genesis Thunder seal contained the power of the Genesis 5 element. The level of this power even surpassed the power of the divine text of the origin level. The power of the divine text was the power created by the God. The power of the Genesis 5 elements, on the other hand, was the origin power of the world. It was much stronger than the power of the divine text. If possible, Long Yu still wanted to obtain the Thunder Seal of the Absolute Beginning. However, if he wanted Yi Ziwei to voluntarily hand it over, the difficulty would be a little too high. As for deceiving Yi Ziwei, Long Yu couldn't bring himself to do it. With regards to Long Yu's smile, Yi Ziwei felt somewhat baffled. She planned to have a good chat with Long Yu after the 4 life and death duels were over. At the same time, they could also exchange pointers. Although Yi Ziwei wasn't Long Yu's match when she was a late Emperor Realm cultivator, she was now an early Emperor Realm cultivator. The increase in her martial Dao realm had doubled her basic strength. She could spar with Long Yu again. As for whether or not Long Yu could survive the 4 life and death battles, Yi Ziwei didn't think there was much to say. If Long Yu died so easily, would he still be Long Yu? Of course, very few people thought the same as Yi Ziwei. Most of them didn't have much of an idea of Long Yu's strength. No one could tell who would win and who would lose in advance. After all, no matter how strong Long Yu was, he was only a late Emperor Realm cultivator. Although he was number 1 in the Emperor Realm, his opponents this time were all great emperors. They were at least mid-Emperor Realm, and some were even late Emperor Realm. Behind Lei Emperor, Gu Yuntian snorted coldly at Long Yu. He didn't have much of a grudge against Long Yu, but he wouldn't admit defeat to Long Yu even if it was for the sake of face. In Gu Yuntian's eyes, Long Yu was just a kid who'd lost power. His master, the Red Emperor, had already stepped down. What was there for him to be afraid of? As for Gu Yuntian, he was the 6th direct disciple of the Thunder Emperor. There was no need to mention his talent. More importantly, during the trip to the Nine Serenities Profound Palace, Gu Yuntian and Ji Bai had teamed up and killed countless black mist lifeforms. His cultivation had actually stepped into the late Emperor realm. A personal disciple of one of the 5 emperors was a late-stage Great Emperor. His strength was definitely more terrifying than Ji Haokong's. Gu Yuntian believed that even if Long Yu managed to survive until the time of the battle, he would still be no match for Gu Yuntian. Long Yu was a late Emperor Realm cultivator. He, Gu Yuntian, was a late Emperor Realm cultivator. Was there any comparison between the two? If Long Yu could fight above his level, so could Gu Yuntian. When Lei Emperor and the Flame Emperor left the city gates, the Sage Emperor and the Demon Emperor's direct disciples also came out. The Sage Emperor and the Demon Emperor didn't come. After all, the 5 emperors had many things to do. They might not be in the holy city of the 5 emperors right now. Forget the Sage Emperor and the Demon Emperor, even the newly appointed Battle Emperor wasn't in the holy city of the 5 emperors. Among the Sage Emperor's direct disciples, the chief disciple was called Qi Tianming. He'd always been on good terms with Xing Fa and was even more protective of the Red Emperor's faction. He naturally didn't have any ill intentions towards Long Yu. In fact, he looked forward to Long Yu's rise today. Long Yu, today you can go all out and fight. Qi Tianming laughed and walked over to greet Long Yu. If anyone wants to break the rules and secretly harm you, I, Qi Tianming, will be the first to stand up for you. This undoubtedly expressed Qi Tianming's attitude. Many people's expressions changed when they heard it. Many people who still harbored ill intentions towards Long Yu hid them in their hearts and didn't dare to think about it anymore. With Qi Tianming speaking up for Long Yu, who would dare to harm Long Yu? As the chief disciple of the Sage Emperor, Qi Tianming was at least a 2-star emperor. His strength didn't need to be mentioned. As for the Demon Emperor's direct disciples, the chief disciple didn't come. Instead, the genius youth Black Knife, who had challenged the illusion realm of the 5 emperors at the same time as Long Yu and Yi Ziwei, also came. He nodded at Long Yu. Clearly, he didn't have any enmity towards Long Yu. Long Yu was now waiting for the main characters to arrive. First was Qin Changyu, then Gong Sunrong and then Ji Haokong. However, he didn't expect that the 3 of them would actually come together. Furthermore, they were following behind another person. That person was Tianxing He, the chief disciple of the Battle Emperor, Tianxing He. Chapter 953. Long Yu glanced at the entrance of the city and saw the silhouette of a youth who was beaming with success. It was none other than the Azura County King's disciple, Tian Xinghe. When Emperor Tian Qin forcibly occupied the Shura County, Tian Xinghe and Bai Qing immediately submitted to Emperor Tian Qin and worked for him. It could be said that they had betrayed the Shura King and even led a team to kill Long Yu and Shu Chan. It should be known that Shu Chan was his master's daughter. Long Yu never had a good impression of this person. He did not expect that this person would meet the Battle Emperor and become his disciple. Now that the Battle Tharch had replaced the Scarlet Tharch as one of the 5 Thearchs, the status of the Heavenly Galaxy had risen as well. Jiang Yi had become the Battle Thearch's top personal disciple and was sought after by countless people. At this moment, Tian Xinghe had a confident look on his face. He led Qin Zhangyu, Gong Sunrong, and Ji Haokong out of the holy city of the 5 emperors while talking and laughing. Qin Zhangyu and Gong Sunrong were the first to submit to the Battle Emperor's side, so they obtained many benefits from the Battle Emperor. There was no need to mention their relationship with Tian Xinghe. Ji Haokong was reinforced by the 10 crystals of the Water Moon Sword sect, so even a martial emperor would find it difficult to break it. In addition, the holy city of the 5 emperors had a forbidden space array, so it was impossible for anyone to fly in. As long as one entered the battle platform, no one could decide their life or death. Even the 5 emperors would find it difficult to influence the outcome of the battle. With the strength of the 5 emperors, if they spent some time, they could still break the translucent walls. However, if there was danger, even the 5 emperors would not be able to rescue them immediately. It would take at least 30 minutes to break the translucent walls. As Long Yu passed through the gates of the fighting platform and walked into the fighting platform, the millions of spectating martial cultivators all cheered. After all, they had come here today to watch the life and death duel. Now that the duel was about to begin, who lived and who died would become a very exciting topic of discussion. Seeing Long Yu turn around and walk into the battle platform, Qin Zhangyu calmed himself down. After saying a few words to Tian Xinghe, he turned around and walked into the battle platform. Chapter 954. Outside the holy city of the 5 emperors, everyone was paying close attention to the battle between Long Yu and Qin Zhangyu. Almost everyone had heard of Long Yu's name. How could the strongest Emperor Realm cultivator not know about him? As for Qin Zhongyu, he had been quite high profile in the holy city of the Five Emperors recently. Because he was on the same side as the Battle Emperor, the whole Qin family had developed quite well. Especially Qin Zhongyu, it was said that not only had his cultivation realm increased, he had also obtained some powerful martial skills and combat weapons. His current strength was unfathomable. Long Yu was a late Emperor Realm cultivator, and Qin Zhongyu was a mid-Emperor Realm cultivator. Who would be the final victor in this life or death battle? Many people were optimistic about Qin Zhongyu. After all, Qin Zhongyu was an elder who had led the Qin family in the holy city of the Five Emperors for a long time. No matter what, he was an Emperor Realm expert, and now he had the support of the Battle Emperor. As for Long Yu, there were also people who were optimistic about him. This life or death battle was proposed by Long Yu himself. He wouldn't be courting death, would he? Therefore, both sides definitely had their own trump cards. As for who would be the final victor, it would depend on whose trump card was stronger. Long Yu took the lead and walked into the arena, followed by Qin Zhongyu with a confident look on his face. Looking at Qin Zhongyu, Long Yu smiled and said, "Let's begin." As soon as Long Yu said this, he opened his mouth and spat out a 9 underworlds dragon breath. Using the Emperor Dao divine skill, the whole arena was instantly filled with the aura of 9 underworlds divine characters. Qin Zhongyu snorted coldly. "I want to see what kind of tricks you have up your sleeves, you arrogant brat." He didn't know any Emperor Dao divine skill, but he had a supreme ancient rank martial skill and combat weapon. "Take this, 9-layer wild waves." Qin Zhongyu shouted, and his whole body exuded the power of Berserker's divine rune. It condensed into a surging wave and rushed towards the 9 underworlds dragon breath. There were a total of 9 layers of waves, and their power was astonishing. This was the supreme ancient rank martial skill that Qin Zhongyu had learned from the Battle Emperor, and he had cultivated it to the great completion realm. Combined with his mid-Emperor realm cultivation, this move's power was actually comparable to Long Yu's 9 underworlds dragon breath. Not only that, the 9 layers of waves were stronger than the previous one. After blocking 5 waves, Long Yu dragon breath, 9 underworlds dragon breath, 9 underworlds dragon breath was destroyed. 999 layer of Dao dragon waves, 9 underworlds will, Long Yu Zhang Long underworlds to Dragon Yu, and Long Emperor Long underworlds, to Tian to attention. This scene immediately caused the onlookers to exclaim. This was only the first confrontation, but in this confrontation, Qin Zhongyu actually easily broke Long Yu's offensive, and even counterattacked. The power of the 9-layered waves was extremely terrifying, and it seemed to be a very powerful martial skill. But in the next moment, a few inconspicuous fallen dark stars flew out of Long Yu's hand and instantly plunged into the incoming wave of Berserker's runes before exploding with a loud bang. In an instant, the 4 or 5 layers of war divine characters seemed to have been disintegrated, scattering in all directions. Long Yu's fallen dark stars had directly hit the weak points of the opponent's martial skill, and with just one explosion, it had destroyed the structure of the opponent's war divine characters. An ancient transcendent rank combat weapon that has just been comprehended to the great accomplishment realm. So this is your trump card. But if you want to use this against me, you are still too naive. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and thought to himself. After all, his opponent was a mid-Emperor realm martial cultivator, so he didn't dare to be careless at the beginning. He had tested Qin Zhongyu first, and now he had a rough idea of Qin Zhongyu's strength. Next, it was time for Long Yu to make his move. Space-tearing divine characters. Space-tearing fatal blow. Since Long Yu already knew what his opponent was relying on, there was no need for him to stay. An ancient transcendent rank combat weapon was definitely the best thing that the Battle Emperor could provide to Qin Zhongyu. If Qin Zhangyu still had other trump cards, Long Yu absolutely wouldn't believe it. Otherwise, the Qin family would have risen a long time ago, and they wouldn't have waited until now to curry favor with the Battle Emperor. Therefore, in the next moment, Long Yu used his trump card, Space-Tearing Fatal Blow. This was a top-grade Archean martial skill, and at the same time, it was combined with the space-cleaving Holy Spring combat weapon in his hand. The blue water twined around his hand, and the next moment, it disappeared without a trace, condensing into a void blade, and instantly appeared inside Qin Zhangyu's body. The space-tearing fatal blow was very effective against those who didn't have a strong physique. For example, Qin Zhangyu's physique wasn't even as strong as Long Yu's. Facing this attack, there was no way he could resist. Qin Zhangyu's 9-layer raging waves was blocked by Long Yu. He wanted to take out his ancient transcendent rank combat weapon and continue to attack Long Yu, but he suddenly felt a blade appearing inside his body, instantly cutting many of his meridians. Puff! Qin Zhangyu couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. He didn't expect Long Yu to have such a terrifying skill. He didn't even know what was going on, and he was already severely injured. Luckily, he was a mid-Emperor realm expert, and his physique had been tempered by his inner world, so he didn't lose his life immediately. However, with 70 to 80% of his meridians being cut, he wouldn't even be able to use 10% of his strength. Stop! Stop! Qin Zhangyu spat out a mouthful of blood. He raised his hand as if he wanted to say something, but why would Long Yu care? This person was shameless to a certain extent. Even though he was Qin Yishuang's father, Qin Yishuang didn't recognize him anymore. There was no need for Long Yu to hold back. Die. Long Yu raised his hand and used the space-splitting kill once again. The blue Duankong sacred spring condensed into a blade and instantly cut through Qin Zhangyu's dantian and heart. He didn't show any mercy at all. Qin Zhangyu had suffered such heavy injuries that it was impossible for him to survive. He fell straight to the ground, and there was a trace of regret in his eyes before he died. No one knew what he was regretting. Was he regretting coming to a life or death battle with Long Yu? Or was it something else? Long Yu didn't know, but he didn't want to know either. After dealing with Qin Zhangyu, Long Yu looked outside the stage and said, "Next, Gongsun Rong, Gongsun family head, come up." As Qin Zhangyu fell to the ground, countless people outside the stage cried out in shock. Obviously, no one had thought that the life-or-death battle between Long Yu and Qin Zhangyu would end so easily. Moreover, Qin Zhangyu was killed by Long Yu without knowing why. How did Long Yu do it? Countless people were thinking this in their hearts. However, it was naturally impossible for them to know that Long Yu's void-severing slash was a technique that was invisible and formless. There was basically no trace of it at all. As long as one's physical body wasn't strong enough, they would be heavily injured or even killed by it. Countless people began to whisper among themselves, discussing how strong Long Yu was. Of course, because of this, many people were looking forward to the next battle even more. Qin Zhangyu, a mid-stage emperor with a transcendent ancient martial skill and a transcendent combat weapon, was killed by Long Yu just like that. Then, what about Gongsun Rong, Ji Haokong, and Guyuntian? Each of them was stronger than the last. Gongsun Rong had just stepped into the late emperor realm, but his strength was far beyond Qin Zhangyu's. He could even fight 10 Qin Zhangyus at once. As for Ji Haokong and Guyuntian, one was one of the 18 elders of the Water Moon Sword sect, and the other was the 6th direct disciple of Lei Emperor. Their strengths were not to be underestimated. Would Long Yu really be able to overcome all difficulties and kill all 4 of them in the end? Countless people were hooked by the battle between Long Yu and Qin Zhangyu. They cheered for Long Yu, and as Long Yu defeated Qin Zhangyu, more and more people began to support Long Yu. Everyone wanted to see the rise of a legendary genius. They didn't want to see so many seniors bullying a junior. Originally, many people had come just to watch the show. After all, most of the people present hadn't stepped into the Emperor Road's secret realm, so they hadn't seen Long Yu compete in the strongest Emperor realm. They had only heard of him. But now, they were all attracted by Long Yu. What kind of secret did he have that made his strength so terrifying that he could defeat an opponent 2 levels higher than him? One had to know that Qin Zhang Yu was one of the stronger ones even among the mid-stage Emperor Realm experts. Seeing how Long Yu killed Qin Zhang Yu so easily, could Long Yu defeat the next patriarch of the Gongsun clan, Gong Sun Rong? Gong Sun Rong's face immediately darkened when he heard Long Yu mention his name. In fact, Tian Xinghe and the others' faces darkened when they saw Qin Zhang Yu fall to the ground. Those from the Qin clan were even more shocked. They didn't expect their patriarch, who was at the peak of his power, to die at the hands of Long Yu. Most importantly, they didn't know how Long Yu killed Qin Zhang Yu. This made Gong Sun Rong anxious. "This brat is a bit strange," Gong Sun Rong said with a gloomy face. "Is Patriarch Gong Sun afraid of that brat?" Tian Xinghe said in an annoyed tone. "No matter what, that brat is only a late Emperor realm. If you were to fight against that useless Qin Zhang Yu, you would be able to kill him in one move. What are you afraid of? At most, you'll be evenly matched with that brat. Plus, you have the pill I gave you. It'll be easy for you to kill that brat." Gong Sun Rong was a bit anxious at first, but his heart calmed down after hearing Tian Xinghe's words. Indeed, he was different from Qin Zhang Yu. Qin Zhang Yu was merely a chess piece in Tian Xinghe's eyes, but he, Gong Sun Rong, was Tian Xinghe's most important subordinate. A late emperor lackey was naturally not easy to find. Therefore, Gong Sun Rong became Tian Xinghe's right-hand man and obtained a pill that could temporarily increase his strength by 3 times. As long as he took this pill, Gong Sun Rong would even dare to fight against a peak Emperor Realm expert. In that case, a mere Long Yu was nothing to be afraid of. Chapter 955. As for Gong Sun Rong's words, Long Yu didn't take it to heart. Long Yu had long known that this person wanted to take revenge for his son, Gong Sun Jiaxing. In fact, he had always known that when he became the direct disciple of the Scarlet Dharch, this person didn't do anything to Long Yu. But now that the Scarlet Dharch had been replaced by the Battle Dharch, this person's claws and teeth were revealed. After all, Long Yu killed Gong Sun Rong's son. If a person didn't even want to avenge his son, would he still be considered human? Of course, revenge also depended on the timing. And now, Gong Sun Rong believed that this was the best time for revenge. Killing Long Yu in front of millions of people should be enough to let his son rest in peace. "Long Yu, I will not waste time with you. Take this." Gong Sun Rong stepped onto the stage, and after a simple sentence, he raised his hand and unleashed a 9th-level innate skill. Flames erupted from his body and formed pillars of fire that blasted towards Long Yu. Long Yu squinted his eyes. This innate skill was not weak, but it was still far from enough to deal with him. This Gong Sun Rong is a late Emperor Realm expert. Even if he didn't cultivate any body refining martial skills, his mortal body is much stronger than Qin Zhang Yu's. It's not possible to kill him with space-splitting strike. Long Yu thought to himself. He would use different tactics to deal with different opponents. Qin Zhang Yu was just too weak, so he didn't want to waste any time and killed him with space-splitting strike. But now, Gong Sun Rong was a late Emperor Realm expert. His mortal body wasn't weak at all. If space-splitting strike was used casually, it would at most cause light injuries to him. But if it failed to kill his opponent in an instant, it would be exposed and wouldn't be useful in the future. Facing Gong Sun Rong's fire pillars, Long Yu remained calm and composed. He didn't panic in the slightest. He calmly condensed the death qi around his body and circulated the death qi around his body. The fire pillars passed through the death qi around his body, and their power was directly reduced by half. After that, they smashed into Long Yu's death barrier and were completely blocked. But then, the ground beneath Long Yu's feet suddenly exploded and a raging flame soared into the sky, engulfing Long Yu in it. Emperor Dao's skill, earth fire explosion. Gong Sun Rong shouted, a cruel light flashed in his eyes. The earth fire eruption was the only Emperor Realm divine ability he had mastered, and it was also his strongest attack. If he was caught off guard, even a late Emperor Realm expert would be severely injured by it, let alone a mere Long Yu. Although I don't know how you killed Qin Zhongyu, but against me, Gong Sun Rong, you have no chance. Gong Sun Rong stood proudly as he looked at the raging flames that had erupted from Long Yu's location. However, his expression quickly changed. That was because he saw that Long Yu's figure had unexpectedly appeared in the center of the flames, completely unharmed. Completely unharmed. How is this possible? Gong Sun Rong's expression changed drastically. As for Long Yu, the corner of his mouth curled up. He didn't expect that his opponent would have such an explosive attack from the ground and had even comprehended it to the Emperor Dao level. However, the strength of Long Yu's fleshly body could actually be imagined by ordinary people. The reason why he blocked the other party's fire pillars earlier was to deceive others, and not because he valued the other party's attack. In reality, even if Gong Suanrong suddenly erupted with his King Path sacred art, the earth fire eruption, it would not be able to harm Long Yu at all. Still a little lacking, Long Yu chuckled as he raised his hand to unleash his origin force, 9 Underworld's deterrence. His body's toughness, under the effects of Death Realm body training and the dragon form Ancient Dan, has long since surpassed normal martial cultivators. In the entire Shen Wu world, it's very hard to find someone with a body stronger than a Draconic defense. Even if there was someone like that, it wouldn't be Gong Sun Rong. Gong Suanrong's attack did not cause much damage to Long Yu's fleshly body. Before Gong Suanrong could react, a wave of deterring power from the 9 serenities held descended from the sky, stunning him on the spot. His mind instantly turned blank. 9 Underworld's dragon breath. 9 Underworld's hand. Space-splitting death. Long Yu consecutively used 2 Emperor Dao skills, then used the space-splitting death, a top-tier immemorial martial skill. The entire area was shrouded in a thick cloud. The 9 Underworld's dragon breath and 9 Underworld's hands slammed down, sending Gong Sun Rong flying. He was then grabbed by the skeletal arm and slammed into the ground. Then, the sudden space-splitting death, like the sharpest blade, cut open a portion of Gong Sun Rong's meridians. In just a breath's time from the 9 Underworld's deterrence, Gong Sun Rong was heavily injured. Die. In the end, Long Yu held the Nether Void Dragon Blade in his hand as his figure flashed past, and the pitch-black blade in his hand slashed past Gong Suanrong's neck. However, at this moment, Long Yu had a sudden thought in his heart, and he retreated swiftly with his fastest speed. Boom! Sure enough, in the next moment, the heavily injured Gong Sun Rong's figure suddenly exploded, and a terrifying flame ignited. If Long Yu had retreated a step slower, he would have suffered a loss. That Gong Sun Rong was actually just a shadow clone. It seems that I won't be able to kill you if you don't take this pill. Gong Sun Rong's gloomy voice came from afar. Then, a wave of flame divine runes descended from the sky, condensing into meteorites that flew across the sky and smashed towards Long Yu. Supreme tier immemorial martial skill, Heavenly Fire Meteorite. Gong Sun Rong shouted and the whole fighting ring was instantly ignited, turning the whole fighting ring into a world of flames. In the sky, at least 10 meteorites smashed towards Long Yu at an extremely fast speed. This wave of attack was much stronger than Gong Sun Rong's earth fire explosion at the beginning. It even threatened Long Yu. This was all because Gong Sun Rong had taken a pill that increased his strength by 3 times. At this moment, Gong Sun Rong definitely had the strength of a peak Emperor Realm expert. Countless meteorites fell, but Long Yu didn't care. He narrowed his eyes and was even more concerned about how Gong Sun Rong could condense such a clone without him knowing. Logically speaking, Long Yu had mastered the 6th stage of balanced control and was very sensitive to strength. If Gong Sun Rong was a clone, he would have noticed it long ago. In other words, Gong Sun Rong didn't create a clone in advance. He used a substitute technique at the moment when he was about to be killed and his original body escaped. In that case, I should have cut some of Gong Sun Rong's meridians, Long Yu thought to himself. He was sure that when he used the void-splitting kill, Gong Sun Rong was still in his original body, not a clone. Gong Sun Rong seemed to be using a powerful technique, but in fact, he was already injured. Because of this, he took the ancient pill without hesitation to increase his basic strength by 3 times. However, even if Gong Sun Rong's strength was increased by 3 times, Long Yu wouldn't take it seriously. Even if I don't do anything, can you kill me? Long Yu laughed and didn't take Gong Sun Rong's current attack seriously. He raised his hand and condensed a wave of death chi around his body. As long as the power of these attacks was reduced by half, Long Yu would be able to resist it with his physical body alone. Since his powerful physical body was exposed, there was no need for Long Yu to hide anymore. It was completely unnecessary. God Chain. 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression. Long Yu's figure traversed through the flames and was struck by 2 meteors. In the next moment, he smashed through the meteors and his figure transformed into a beam of light that circled around Gong Suanrong. The first-grade God Chain, 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression, was cast by Long Yu. In an instant, 8 different colored light pillars appeared and completely suppressed Gong Sun Rong. Gong Sun Rong's expression changed again when he saw Long Yu's technique. Just now, he had watched helplessly as 2 meteors smashed into Long Yu. Yet, Long Yu did not dodge at all and directly smashed the 2 meteors into smithereens. What kind of strength did this kid possess? Can he kill him? Gong Suanrong was puzzled by this question. Originally, he thought that with his strength combined with the medicinal pills, he would definitely be able to kill Long Yu in an instant. However, he never imagined that Long Yu would have such a terrifying physical body. However, it was useless for him to regret it now because Long Yu's attack had already arrived. The 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression and the first-grade God Chain completely suppressed him. He couldn't move his body at all. He wasn't from the Outer Symbol clan and couldn't rely on the immortal purple blood to break through the suppression in the next 3 breaths. Gong Sun Rong could only let Long Yu do whatever he wanted. To deal with Gong Sun Rong, his physical strength wasn't weak, so Long Yu used the safest method. In any case, this guy didn't have any means to break free from the 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression, so Long Yu had 3 breaths to prepare his killing move. 100 fallen dark stars, 1,000 fallen dark stars, 3,000 fallen dark stars, condensed. In the 3 breaths of time that the 8 trigrams Heaven Suppressing technique took effect, Long Yu directly condensed countless ancient phantoms that covered the entire battlefield. He also condensed as many as 3,000 fallen dark stars that surrounded Gong Sun Rong. Long Yu himself constantly retreated to the edge of the entire battle platform, and the next moment, 3,000 fallen dark stars suddenly exploded. A deafening sound erupted from the entire battle platform. Sand and stones instantly filled the entire area of the battle platform. Long Yu and Gong Sun Rong's figures were completely submerged by the sand and dust. 3,000 fallen dark stars exploding at the same time was naturally extremely frightening. In fact, even Long Yu himself, who had long since dodged to the side, was still caught up in the shock waves of the explosion, suffering some superficial wounds. From this, one could imagine just how powerful this explosion was. In theory, as long as Long Yu was given enough time, he could erupt with infinite power. However, condensing the fallen dark stars still consumed a lot of energy. For example, right now, he had completely exhausted all the energy in his body. 3,000 fallen dark stars was the strongest move he could condense now. After this move, the entire ground of the battle platform seemed to have been turned upside down, becoming barren and barren. As for Gong Sunrong. Chapter 956. The fighting ring vanished into thin air. Gong Sunrong's figure had completely vanished, leaving only Long Yu standing proudly in the ring. At this moment, the millions of people around the fighting ring were completely silent. Everyone was stunned by the power of the fallen dark star's explosion. Was this something that a cultivator in the late stage of the Emperor Realm could do? Even a cultivator at the peak of the Emperor Realm might not be able to execute such a terrifying move. This move must have consumed a lot of Long Yu's strength. In fact, it might even have exhausted all of his strength. However, it didn't matter. In a battle of life and death, as long as he could kill his opponent, he would win. So what if he exhausted his strength? The shocking scene on the fighting platform caused everyone from the Heavenly Star River to open their eyes wide in disbelief. Gong Sunrong, who had taken a medicinal pill that increased his strength by 3 times, was actually killed by Long Yu in a single move. What kind of strength did Long Yu possess? Long Yu must be exhausted after using such a powerful move. I'll take this opportunity to kill him. Ji Haokong immediately reacted. A fierce glint flashed through his eyes as he stepped into the fighting ring without hesitation. At the same time, he shouted, "Long Yu, it's finally our turn to fight." As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying divine sword light appeared on the fighting ring and swept towards Long Yu. Ji Haokong was wearing the Watermoon Sword Sex 10 condensed death armor. He looked like an emissary who had walked out of hell. He instantly became impregnable. Countless light blue sword auras passed through the death aura and struck the death armor. Clang 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 clang. However, the sword auras were unable to break through Long Yu's death armor. Ji Haokong's eyes almost popped out of their sockets when he saw this scene. What kind of terrifying defensive ability was this? This scene caused Ji Haokong's eyes to pop out of their sockets. What kind of terrifying defensive ability was that? Ji Haokong was very suspicious of this. If this was true, how terrifying would Long Yu's combat strength be when he stepped into the Emperor Realm? Ji Haokong was very suspicious of this. If that was really the case, when Long Yu stepped into the Emperor Realm, how terrifying would his combat power be? Even if he had to challenge the 5 emperors, he would be able to succeed easily. Unparalleled sword explosion. Ji Haokong didn't dare to be careless. He swung the sword in his hand and used a King Path magic. Sword light flashed and tore through the void, directly exploding next to Long Yu. The power of this attack was extremely terrifying, even stronger than the sky-splitting sword mark from before. Long Yu's death armor shattered inch by inch. The peerless sword explosion had finally broken through Long Yu's defense. Ji Haokong did not stop. Sword shadows flew everywhere, peerless sword prison. Countless sword chi formed a cage, trapping Long Yu inside. Then, countless sword lights tore through the void, wanting to explode next to Long Yu. Ji Haokong had used the peerless sword explosion 4 or 5 times in a row. Seeing this, Long Yu directly condensed a few fallen dark stars and flew out with a loud bang, breaking the flaws of the peerless sword prison. His figure flashed, and he directly escaped from that place. Void divine text, teleportation. Long Yu's figure instantly appeared behind Ji Haokong. A void vortex suddenly condensed, suppressing Ji Haokong for a moment. In that instant, Long Yu's attack came one after another. 7 white bone arms appeared from the void, directly grabbing Ji Haokong. Countless divine text of the underworld entered Ji Haokong's body. Sword chi purification. Ji Haokong's face hardened. He reacted instantly. Sword chi flew out from his body, turning into extremely small sword chi that wandered around his body. Not only did it instantly shake off the 7 white bone arms, it also completely cleared away the divine text of the underworld that had invaded his body. Ji Haokong no longer had the heart to be careless. Facing Long Yu now, he absolutely had to give it his all. Otherwise, he knew that he would be the one to die in the end. Peerless sword explosion. The sword chi exploded beside Long Yu, allowing him to use the void divine runes to teleport away once more. This sort of technique was unable to touch Long Yu at all, and even if it did, Long Yu's fleshly body wouldn't suffer any serious injuries. But now, Long Yu realized that the Emperor Path thaumaturgy he had was no longer an advantage against late or peak Emperor Realm cultivators. On one hand, his opponent also had Emperor Path thaumaturgy, but on the other hand, the difference in strength between them was too great. Long Yu's Emperor Path thaumaturgy was nothing to his opponent. Imperial Path Divine Ability. The next step is Imperial Path Divine Ability. However, it's extremely difficult to evolve to this level. What you need the most is some special natural treasures. Even the Five Emperors Alliance wouldn't sell these natural treasures because they're too precious, Long Yu thought to himself. After everything here is settled, it's time to properly cultivate. First, he'll learn more 9 hellmarks, then try to sense the location of the treasures that can increase the level of his thaumaturgy. From now on, if he wants to increase his cultivation, the most important thing is to obtain those treasures. Perhaps they aren't that valuable in outer space, but in Shen Wu world, those treasures are extremely rare and precious. Long Yu regained his composure. He was still in the battle of life and death with Ji Haokong. If Emperor Path thaumaturgy didn't work, then he had to use a stronger method. Second rank God Chain. Death Realm Torment. Long Yu raised his hand. A 9 Hell God rune condensed into a black light and shot out. It pierced through the void and hit Ji Haokong, who was about to attack Long Yu. Ji Haokong's expression changed. Sensing the terrifying power contained in the black light, he immediately used sword chi to purify it. He could not allow this power to remain in his body. Even if he wanted to fight against Long Yu, he had to purify this black light first. But this gave Long Yu time. 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression. By the time Ji Haokong purified the power of Death Realm Torment in his body, Long Yu's 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression Divine Chain was ready and completely suppressed him. 8 different colored beams of light suppressed Ji Haokong. It's about time. Long Yu smiled faintly. He continued to condense one fallen dark star after another like he did against Gong Suanrong. Very soon, fallen dark stars appeared in the field and surrounded Ji Haokong, ready to explode. Ji Haokong's power was suppressed by the 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression Divine Chain, so he could naturally see this scene. He immediately frowned. He had a trump card that he didn't want to use against a late-stage Emperor Realm Brat, but it seemed that he had no choice but to use it now. If he didn't stop Long Yu now, he would probably end up the same as Gong Suanrong just now. Not even his bones would be found. Heaven-shattering pill. Ji Haokong crushed the pill he had been holding in his mouth. This pill was called the Heaven-shattering pill. After consuming it, one's power would possess a terrifying penetrative ability for a short period of time. Simply put, its power would increase many times and it would be able to directly bombard the enemy's body. The power that the Heaven-shattering pill gave Ji Haokong allowed him to explode and break free of the 8 trigrams Heaven Suppression Divine Chain's suppression. After all, this pill was an Archean rank pill. It was Ji Haokong's greatest trump card. He had obtained it from an ancient ruin a few years ago. He had never imagined that he would consume the Heaven-shattering pill while fighting against Long Yu. However, the situation would change after he consumed the Heaven-shattering pill. Although the effect of the Heaven-shattering pill would only last for 30 minutes, it was enough for Ji Haokong to kill Long Yu. Chapter 957. As soon as Ji Haokong consumed the Heaven-shattering pill, his aura erupted, breaking through the 8 trigrams suppression technique. Then, countless rays of sword light filled the sky and swept toward Long Yu, each one with a piercing power many times stronger than the ones before. Long Yu frowned slightly. He could feel the penetrative power of the sword light. He didn't dare to take it head-on. His figure flickered, and he activated the power of the Void Divine Runes, dodging to another location, avoiding the sword light. Then, Long Yu's aura of the divine characters of the 9 Serenities surged out. Origin power, 9 Serenities intimidation. Even Ji Haokong, who had consumed the heaven-shattering pill, was shocked by the power of this move. He wouldn't be able to wake up for a breath's time. Void-rending strike. 2 streams of light blue water appeared in Long Yu's hands. The endless grade soldier, the Draconic sacred spring, transformed into 2 sharp blades that pierced through the void and stabbed into Ji Haokong's body. As soon as he attacked, Long Yu felt that his comprehension of the top-grade primordial rank martial technique, space-splitting annihilation, had risen from the beginner level to the minor mastery stage, and its might had increased by 2-fold. Not only that, but the void-severing holy spring was an unbounded battle weapon, and it unleashed extraordinary power at this moment. The light blue water turned into a sharp blade that pierced through Ji Haokong's body as if it was going to kill him. 2 bloody holes appeared in Ji Haokong's chest. Ji Haokong's body, a late-stage great emperor, couldn't withstand the void-rending strike and was pierced through. Now that Long Yu had used this move, Ji Haokong's life was no longer spared. Ji Haokong woke up from the 9 Serenities' intimidation and felt a sharp pain in his chest. Then he realized that his chest had been pierced by a sharp blade. What kind of technique was this? Ji Haokong's eyes were filled with disbelief. He fell backwards and landed heavily on the ground of the fighting ring. Long Yu heaved a sigh of relief when he saw Ji Haokong fall. After consuming the primordial sky-shattering pill, Ji Haokong's explosive power was too terrifying. If he had been hit by the sword chi, he would have been riddled with holes. Fortunately, Long Yu was able to use his origin energy in time. The 9 underworld's deterrence instantly stunned his opponent, allowing him to turn defeat into victory. However, just as Long Yu was about to challenge the next Guyuntian, he frowned slightly. He sensed a strange power rising from Ji Haokong's body through the balanced control of the 6th layer. The power of the undead purple blood? Long Yu was very familiar with that power. He could not help but open his eyes wide, only to see a burst of purple light rising from Ji Haokong's body. Following that, under the effect of the purple light, the huge bloody hole in his chest continuously healed, and soon there were no more wounds, leaving only 2 large holes in his clothes. How is this possible? Long Yu did not expect to see the power of the undead purple blood at a time like this. He immediately became extremely cautious. Was Ji Haokong a member of the Symbol clan, a force from beyond the sky? That was impossible. If that was the case, why would Ji Haokong fight Long Yu like this? Long Yu soon discovered the truth. Ji Haokong was indeed not a member of the Symbol clan. The reason why he could use the power of the undead purple blood and come back to life was because he had consumed a pill beforehand. It was the faint purple pill that had emitted the power of the undead purple blood in Ji Haokong's dantian. It healed the bloody hole in Ji Haokong's chest extremely quickly and brought him back to life. Ji Haokong, who had been revived by the power of the undead purple blood, gradually stood up. He was a little confused about how he had come back to life, but his face was soon filled with joy. Purple blood saint pill, it must be the purple blood saint pill. The pill I consumed in a hurry in an ancient relic more than 10 years ago has such a heaven-defying effect. It can actually bring me back to life. Ji Haokong thought to himself. The more he thought about it, the more excited he became. He clenched the ancient supreme long sword combat weapon in his hand. He could still feel the effects of the heaven-shattering pill. He felt that there was still hope for him to kill Long Yu. Even if he could not, he could admit defeat when the time came since he had come back to life. Brat, die for your father. Ji Haokong immediately shouted. Countless rays of sword light erupted from his body and enveloped the entire fighting ring. At that moment, as long Long Yu did not leave the fighting ring, he would definitely be pierced by the rays of sword light. Under the influence of the heaven-shattering pill, the rays of sword light had a terrifying penetrative power. Even a single ray of sword light could assassinate Long Yu. Facing such a dense attack, Long Yu could only try his best to dodge. Although countless rays of sword light enveloped the entire fighting ring, Long Yu could rely on his balanced control and the fallen dark star to sense the specific trajectory of each ray of sword light. His life would not be in danger from this move. Fallen dark star, explode. Long Yu raised his hand and condensed several fallen dark stars. They flew in all directions and directly shattered a few key rays of sword light. At the same time, he constantly dodged the attacks on his vital parts. The sword light that filled the sky could not harm his vital parts. There were only some superficial wounds on his hands and feet. As expected of the power of the heaven-shattering pill, the sword light had actually injured Long Yu's incomparably strong body. However, Long Yu did not care about such a small injury. It was still too early to kill him with that. Seeing that this move could not do anything to Long Yu, Ji Haokong raised his hand and waved the sword in his hand again. The dense amount of sword qi in the fighting ring suddenly doubled. Even more dense rays of sword light descended from the sky like raindrops. With a thought, Long Yu condensed 7 siphon totems and placed them in 7 directions around him. As soon as the siphon totems appeared, they began to absorb the surrounding rays of sword light. Most of the attacking rays of sword light were absorbed and converted into the power of the divine text for Long Yu's own use. If it was the original Long Yu, the 7 siphon totems might not have been able to completely absorb so many rays of sword light. However, the current Long Yu had activated the 9 serenities mark in his body. The siphon totems he condensed were twice as strong as before, thus producing an unparalleled effect. Since you're not dead yet, you can die again. Long Yu blocked his opponent's 2 consecutive attacks. His heart grew cold. The light blue Draconic sacred spring once again twined around his hand. As he activated the sky-splitting kill, it instantly turned into 2 sharp blades that attacked Ji Haokong's body through the air. Ji Haokong was just about to condense more sword qi to completely drown Long Yu when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. When he was struck by the sky-splitting kill just now, he had been stunned by Long Yu's source power of 9 serenities, so he did not know how he had been injured. Now, he felt a pain in his chest. Then, 2 sharp blades formed from light blue water pierced through his back like 2 poisonous snakes. He immediately widened his eyes. What the hell were these 2 water-flowing blades? When did they enter his body? Ji Haokong shouted. Countless rays of sword qi appeared and slashed at the 2 water-flowing blades. However, he quickly realized that the 2 water-flowing blades could not be destroyed at all. Although his sword qi could cut through the 2 water-flowing blades, if he cut water with a knife, the water would flow even faster. It was just a stream of water. How could it be completely cut through by the sword qi? Even if it was cut, it would only be for a moment before it reformed again. This was the true terror of the Draconic sacred spring, an endless grade soldier. It was the most flexible of assassination soldiers. Even if it was discovered in advance, it would be impossible to stop its attack. Sky-splitting kill. Long Yu raised his hand and the space-splitting holy spring once again condensed into a light blue sharp blade. It instantly disappeared from behind Ji Haokong, and directly pierced Ji Haokong's dantian. This time, it stabbed into Ji Haokong's vitals. When the sword qi stabbed into Ji Haokong's dantian, it immediately dissipated. The sword qi had lost its source of power, so it could not continue to reform. Ji Haokong watched as a stream of light blue water flowed out of his dantian. He died with a remaining grievance, because he had no idea what it was. Boom! Ji Haokong fell heavily to the ground. He didn't even have time to surrender before the Draconic sacred spring assassinated him. Long Yu pulled his hand back and put the void-cleaving holy spring into his robe. The endless grade battle weapon was indeed very useful, and was already so powerful. If he could fuse with it to the invincible level, and then master the void-cleaving strike to the transcendent level, how terrifying would that be? The purple blood Saint Pill could only resurrect him once. Actually, this was because Ji Haokong had been using it for a few years. If he used it now, he could resurrect at least 3 times. The purple blood Saint Pill was a powerful healing pill made from the undying purple blood of Symbol Clan cultivators. It was known as a holy healing pill, but the Symbol Clan didn't know how to make it themselves. This kind of pill would only appear in the hands of the Symbol Clan's enemies, and it almost never appeared in the divine battle world. Ji Haokong had obtained it by chance, so he was very lucky. Unfortunately, against Long Yu, it didn't matter how many purple blood Saint Pills he had. As Ji Haokong fell to the ground, he was blasted into nothingness by Long Yu's hundreds of fallen dark stars. The millions of martial cultivators cheered. Long Yu challenged 3 Emperor Realm experts in a row. Originally, everyone thought that he would quickly lose his life, but no one expected him to kill his way through and kill 3 Emperor Realm experts in one go. Qin Chong Yu and Gong Sun Rong were one thing, but now even one of the 18 elders of the Watermoon Sword Sect, Ji Haokong, had died at Long Yu's hands. Just how terrifying was Long Yu's combat strength? After seeing Long Yu kill Ji Haokong, even Lei Emperor's personal disciple, Gu Yuntian, who had been full of confidence, felt a little guilty about fighting Long Yu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.